Hello everyone, this is your friend from Naruto Audio Fanfics, and we are back once again with a brand new fanfic. Which is what if Naruto was banished after failing to bring back Sasuke and returned as the Golden Fox during the Leaf vs. Cloud War? Naruto x Tsunade, Part 1. If you enjoy this story, don't forget to hit the like button, thumbs up, and subscribe to the channel for more amazing Naruto fanfics like this. So without wasting any more time, let's start today's fanfic. Konoha, the village hidden in the leaves, one of the strongest villages of the 5 shinobi villages. It has been my home for 12 long years. To others, 12 years may not be a long time, however, only a few people have shouldered the burden that I had to shoulder throughout my life. I, Uzumaki Naruto, was chosen to carry the Kyuubi that attacked the village 12 years prior. I often wonder why I was chosen out of so many kids. Was there no other child that the Yondaime could have placed this curse on? Why me? This is probably the only question that I want answered. It seems that we tend not to get what we want. A couple of months back, the only question that I wanted an answer to was, why was I hated by the adults so much? After Mizuki had informed me that I was the jailer of the strongest of the yokai, it all became clear. The stares, the remarks, were all because of what they thought I was. It seems that the kids in my age group followed their parents' lead by treating me like I was nothing. The pranks, the loud, and brash attitude that I displayed was a cry for attention. All I ever wanted was for people to acknowledge my existence. I think that's why old man Sandaime never punished me for my many transgressions. He was the only one who knew why I committed those pranks. Being alone is hell, a hell that I do not wish upon anyone. I used to sit on the swing and watch the other kids with their parents, and it would pain me. I wish that I could experience what they had at least once in my life. Well, I guess you could say that Iruka-sensei is like the father I never had. He gives advice and he treats me like I'm somebody. He was even willing to sacrifice his life to save mine. That's the sort of thing a loving father would do. The closest thing that I had to a mother is a 50-year-old who doesn't look a day over 30. Tsunade Obaa-chan cares for me deeply. When we first met, I wanted to punch her lights out for disrespecting the old man's sacrifice by saying the position of Hokage was shit. We fought, but she was clearly my better. She seemed as though she could care less about what happened to anyone. However, Jiraiya told me when we got to the village how she had protected me from Orochimaru. He told me that she had taken a sword to the heart. He also informed me that she told Orochimaru that I was going to be Hokage someday. She believed in me enough to protect me from harm. That is something that a mother would do. I'm glad that there are at least 2 people that care for me. I thought that Team 7 would become the family that always I wanted. That, however, was not meant to be. Kakashi-sensei, who wasn't really a sensei, well, not to me at least, never showed any interest in me. When I won against Kiba in the tournament, he didn't even congratulate me on my victory. I guess that was reserved for his favorite student. I asked him to train me, but he made up an excuse about how bad my chakra control was. That was the whole reason I asked him to help me, but whatever. I guess training Sasuke was a higher priority. Sakura is no different. It is always Sasuke this and Sasuke that. Even when I saved her from Gaara, she had assumed it was Sasuke. He told her that it was me, but did I get a thank you? Nope. I got nothing. The event that showed that I would never have her was when I dragged Tsunade to heal Sasuke. I saw her at his bedside. To me it looked like she hadn't left since he was placed there. When Obaa-chan healed him and he woke up, she hugged him as if he was the most precious thing ever. It pained me to see that Sasuke had beat me again. This time he did it without even trying. I never understood Sasuke. Here is a guy who is loved by all throughout the village, yet he chooses to be lonely. He was born with the most feared bloodline limit, he is extremely gifted, and has every girl in the village after him. He also had Kakashi train him personally. He had everything and he threw it all away for vengeance. He even shoved a Chidori into my chest. I always saw him as a friend, a rival, a brother. Now all I see is a guy who took the easy way out to obtain power. I promised Sakura that I would bring him back, but I failed to do so. I really did try for her sake. During those 4 days that I spent recovering in the hospital, I had expected Sakura to visit, but she never did. I will never forget the day that I was released. I would be forever changed by it. Flashback. The villagers' stares were even colder than before. I even heard some comments that suggested that I was responsible for Sasuke's betrayal of the Konoha. I ignored it and continued home. I was glad to see Sakura about a block ahead of me. She was with that crazy blonde girl Ino. I ran up to them to greet them. As I called out her name, she didn't even acknowledge me. When I stopped her, she had a look in her eyes that indicated that she was mad at me. I just smiled. "Hey, Sakura-chan," she responded. "What do you want, Naruto?" I looked down because of the guilt of not fulfilling my promise. "Sakura-chan, I'm sorry that I couldn't bring Sasuke back." Her response was something that I had not expected. "Sorry. Sorry that you couldn't keep your promise." "No, Naruto, I'm sorry for believing that a dead last like you would bring back Sasuke-kun. Sakura-chan, I really tried, but..." "Tried? Yeah, right. You didn't try. Why would you try to save Sasuke? You knew I liked him, and I bet you thought that if he was out of the picture then I would say yes to a date." "Sakura-chan, that's not true. I really tried to bring him back." "Enough, Naruto. Get this through your head, I have never liked you and never will." Ino spoke in a defending tone. "Sakura, I understand that you have feelings for Sasuke, but that's going too far. Not even Naruto deserves that." Sakura glared at Ino. "Ino, this has nothing to do with you, so mind your own business." Ino glared at the pink-haired Kunoichi. Naruto spoke once more. "Sakura-chan, no matter what I did or said, Sasuke didn't want to come back. But don't worry, I will bring him back for you. Save your promises for someone else. The only thing that I want you to do for me is to never speak to me again. I wish that it was you who left and not Sasuke." Sakura ran off. Naruto stood there feeling as though someone had told him his dog died. He felt pain in his heart. The girl he would have done anything for to protect had broken his heart. Ino looked at Sakura, who was running off into the distance, then back at Naruto. She even felt sorry for what had happened. He looked really hurt by Sakura's words, she thought. Ino spoke. "You know, Naruto, I think she's just upset. No, she doesn't deserve any excuses, Ino. I thought she was my friend, I guess I was wrong. I have to go home. I guess I'll see you later, bye." End of flashback. I thought that it couldn't get any worse than that, but I would be proven wrong once again. A week later I was called before the council. The council had declared that it was my fault for the injuries that my comrades had sustained. I was also blamed for not returning Sasuke back to the village. I tried to plead my case, but it fell on deaf ears. The worst I thought was going to happen was a 6-month suspension of my ninja license, but they did something that I'd never expect. I was banished from Konoha. My dream of being Hokage died that day. Jiraiya tried to plead that I had helped fend off Gaara during the Sound Sand invasion, but it fell on deaf ears once again. Oba-chan didn't have the power to go against the council and was unable to save me from this fate. The day that I was scheduled to leave, I went to Oba-chan's office. Since I wasn't going to be the Hokage, I felt that there was no reason to keep the necklace. I gave it back to her and left. I had also asked her to give Iruka back the headband he had given me. Jiraiya had offered to train me for the next 3 years, but I told him that he didn't need to. He insisted, but I declined and told him not to worry and that I would be okay. He respected my decision, but he decided to give me some scrolls with some techniques. He told me that he was leaving the village and wasn't stepping foot into it again. Ero Sennin told me where to find him whenever I wanted to learn some S-class jutsus. I left 2 days after that meeting. I could see the villagers look at me with smirks on their faces. It was fine, I was giving them what they had wanted for so long, my departure. Konoha was no longer my home. It was time for me to find a new home. I made a vow that I would become the greatest ninja ever. It's been 6 years since I was banished. During that time I met and trained with ninjas from other villages as well as samurais. When I left, I headed to Wave Country to see Tsunade and his family. I only stayed 3 months before I went to Water Country. I ran into a missing nin by the name of Saichi Kato. He was one of the 7 swordsmen of the mist. I followed him around for the next 2 years, learning all that I could from him. During this time we did missions together and became like brothers. After 2 years passed, I had decided it was time to part ways. I was still on a quest for strength, so I needed to continue on my path. My departure from Kato-sensei led me to Sea Country, where I met a samurai clan known as the Minashu clan. I had thought I had already learned all I needed about Kenjutsu, but I was wrong. The samurai took me in and trained me under the heavenly sword. Since I knew how to wield a sword, it only took me a year to master the style. By the time I had finished mastering the style, I considered myself one of the top 10 ninjas in the world. I know that sounds, but I believed it to be true. The next year was spent with Jiraiya, perfecting my taijutsu and ninjutsu and taking on missions after a year of training with the Minashu. I also learned some genjutsu from the scrolls, and from Jiraiya as well. My skills had improved greatly during that time. No longer was I the dead last or the idiot. I am known throughout the ninja world as the Golden Fox. I guess I got that name due to my yellow hair and whisker marks. During this time, Konoha had defeated the Sound Village, killing Orochimaru in the process. The Akatsuki was dealt with a couple of months later. I like to say I had a big part in that. After all, I did kill 3 members. I softened them up for Konoha and Suna. Sasuke finally got his revenge and killed his brother. I heard that the village accepted him back after his betrayal. My sources have informed me that all he got was a year of probation. He is now currently a Junin and an Anbu squad captain. 2 years after the fall of the Sound and Akatsuki, Cloud declared war on the Leaf for unknown reasons. The war doesn't concern me. I live in Sun Country now with my fiancée and her mother. I met Yumi when I was 17. I remember the day we met. I saved her from some thugs who tried to rob her and possibly force themselves on her. When I looked at her, I was mesmerized by her long brown hair, her green eyes and her shapely body. After I saved her life, she insisted that I have dinner with her and her mother, so I did. Her mother, Mai, who looked like an older version of Yumi, accepted me with open arms. From that day Yumi and I were always together. Peaceful as things were, I knew it wouldn't last for long. It never does. Outside of the greenhouse made of wood, with a farm in the back, sitting in a chair on the porch, with Yumi cuddled up to me, I noticed the presence of 5 people. Judging by the way they moved, it had to be ninja. I didn't alert Yumi to their presence, I didn't want her to get scared. Within a matter of seconds, 5 shurikens flew at me and Yumi. I used the Kawarimi no Jutsu. I was behind the ninja holding a kunai at the throat, but I found that I couldn't move. It was the cage main. There was only one person I knew who could do this technique. Shikamaru, you can let me go now. I wasn't going to hurt your friend here. Also tell Shino, Neji, and Tenten that they can come out now. Soon enough, Neji, Shino, Tenten and Shikamaru came into view. They lifted up their masks so I could see their faces. Shikamaru released the cage main. I decided to speak to the ninja I was behind. You can remove your mask as well, Ino. She complied. Yumi and her mother came from the house to see if I was okay. Shikamaru spoke. Tsunade-sama had asked us to track you down. I told her how troublesome it would be, but she had insisted that we find you. Neji stepped forth to speak. Naruto, Tsunade-sama has requested that you return back with us to Konoha. I looked at Neji and laughed. She requested that I come back. Tell her I am no longer a shinobi of the leaf and I am not obligated to do as she says. Ino decided to speak. Naruto, she asked us to bring you back. Please come back with us. Tell me, What could she want from me? She didn't want anything the past 6 years, why now all of a sudden? Shino spoke in his usual tone, Uzumaki Naruto, God-I'm-sama wishes for you to assist us in this war with the cloud. I walked past the ninjas from Konoha and headed to the doorway towards my fiancé who was looking worried. I stopped and spoke, instead of trying to get me to fight Konoha's battles, you should be preparing for attacks from Cloud Nin. Tell Oba-chan that I said good luck defeating the cloud. Naruto, how could you turn your back on your home? It's your duty to protect the Konoha. Tenten said desperately. It's not my home, it never was. That place was hell to me. I was hated by every villager in that village. I was also banished by the council. So tell me, Tenten, would you consider a place that exiled you a home? There was complete silence. I thought so. Tell Oba-chan that the only way I will fight for Konoha is if she's willing to pay for my services. My going rate isn't cheap though. Tell her I want 70 million ryu for my services and an additional 20 million bonus. Take that offer to her and come back to let me know her decision. That's an outrageous figure, Naruto. Ino stated. Well, I told you I don't come cheap. I'm sure the cloud will have no problem paying the bill. Shikamaru sighed. If that's all you request, then pack your things, Naruto. We want to get back to Konoha ASAP. Ino spoke. Shikamaru, you can't be serious. That is too much money for. Neji interrupted. Well, Tsunade-sama did say no matter what it took. Do you actually think that's what she meant, Neji? Asked Tenten incredulously. Our mission states that we bring Uzumaki Naruto back with us to Konoha. After that, it is no longer our responsibility. Shino stated. Shikamaru looked at Naruto, so are you coming or what? Naruto fixed his gaze on Shikamaru, on one more condition. What is it now that you demand? Ino spat out. Naruto turned to the door, where his fiancé and his mother-in-law-to-be were standing. They come with me. When word gets out that I'm fighting on Konoha's side, the cloud will send nins to use them as bait against me. At least in the leaf, I know that they will be safe. Shikamaru thought to himself, what a troublesome guy. After closing his eyes, then reopening them, he spoke, fine. As long as you're coming, I could care less about who you bring with you. Naruto gave the group a large grin, then it's settled. We depart in 2 hours. He walked towards Yumi. She had a sad look in her eyes. Truth be told, Yumi didn't want Naruto to be a ninja anymore for fear of losing him. Even so, she knew he was a ninja through and she respected it. He placed his hand gently on her face, pulling it up so his eyes could meet hers. Don't worry. Nothing will happen to me, that I can promise. Come on, we have to pack our stuff so we can get out of here. With that said, they broke free from each other's embrace and headed into the house. Yumi's mother invited the other ninjas into the house. After 2 hours had passed, everyone was now ready to head out. Naruto was dressed in a black, short-sleeved shirt with black sweatpants to match. He wore bandages around his shin the way Kakashi did. He also had on black ninja sandals. His sword was placed on his back. The sword was eloquent. One couldn't see the blade, but judging by the black and gold handle, and the black case with a golden fox carved on it, it was safe to say that the sword could cut through almost anything. He got the sword from Minato Ryaho, the head of the samurai clan who had taught him personally. Yumi was wearing a brown long-sleeved shirt and beige pants. Her sandals matched the color of her shirt. Mai had on a long blue long-sleeved shirt, black pants, and black sandals much like Naruto's. Naruto put Yumi on his back, while Neji carried Yumi's mother. The other three carried the small book bags that the 3 residents of Sun Country had packed. In a matter of seconds, they took to the trees. It would take an hour to reach the docks, where a ship was waiting to escort them to Konoha, where it would take about 2 hours to arrive there. 3 hours later in Konoha. In the Hokage Tower, behind the desk of the Hokage office sat a 56-year-old blonde woman, who could pass for 20, doing paperwork. With a war going on and missions to complete, she was exhausted. She was trying to find ways to end this war. She tried presenting a treaty to Raikage, but the young prick didn't want a treaty. For the last 8 months the war went on with no side gaining an upper ground. She honestly didn't know what the war was for, but she believed that the young Raikage just wanted to prove his country was stronger than the Leaf. She felt that there were better ways to go about doing this, but it was his village after all. She ran hers and that was all that mattered. Sitting with her right arm holding up her head, Tsunade looked at the door when her assistant came in. Tsunade-sama, Shikamaru's team has returned with Naruto. They're in the waiting room, Shizune stated. Shizune, send them in. Shikamaru and the rest of his team entered with Naruto and 2 people she didn't recognize. When she saw Naruto, she was trying to hold back her tears. She kept them from falling and she began to speak. Naruto, I'm glad that you could make it. I thought that you were going to turn down my request, she said, with happiness in her voice. I did turn down your request. The only reason I'm here is because you're paying for my services, he responded. One of her eyebrows slightly elevated, paying for your services. So you're not doing this to help the Leaf? She questioned. Naruto gave her a smirk. Tsunade, do you really think that I would fight for this village after what they did to me? No, I'm not here to protect your village. I'm here because of the 90 million ryu I'm being paid for my services. She felt a pain in her heart when he said her name instead of Oba-chan. She knew then that their relationship had changed. She blamed herself for that. She got mad at the fact that he was fighting only for money. She responded in angry tone, so, you only fight for money now? Whatever happened to the kid that fought to protect his precious people? Did you forget about that or what? He smiled at her then placed his arms around Yumi. I do fight for my precious people. That never has and never will change. However, there is no one here in Konoha that is precious to me, so there is no reason whatsoever to fight for anyone here. If you're not willing to pay for my services, then I will leave and return to my life. So what's it going to be? Tsunade sighed. Very well then. Before we can pay for your services, you must be brought before the council so they can approve of it. Neji, would you escort Naruto's guest to the hotel? Naruto, follow me. Naruto kissed his girl. I'll see you as soon as I'm done, okay? Yumi nodded her head in agreement. Exiting the office, Mai and Yumi followed behind Neji while Naruto and Tsunade headed to the council room. Tsunade started a conversation with the man who was an inch or two shorter than Jiraiya. So, tell me Naruto, who were those 2 back there? My fiancé and her mother. Judging by the tone in his voice she could clearly see that he didn't really want to talk. She still decided to get some answers about the girl and what he did during the last 6 years. She knew he was strong. Just mentioning his name in the rock, rain, mist, and grass caused panic. The man who stood walking next to her was arguably the most feared ninja in the world. She spoke once more. Naruto, how did you guys meet? Naruto, who never even looked at her, I'm touched that you want to know about my life, but I really don't feel the need to tell you. She hadn't expected Naruto to be this cold. She knew that there was a chance that he would despise her and this village for what transpired 6 years ago, but she was hoping he didn't. Deep inside, she was hoping that he would be happy to return, but she knew that it would only be in her fantasy. After a minute of walking, they finally reached the council room in the Hokage Tower. Inside the big room was a long square table that sat 14. The room was like a cave in the sense that the light only illuminated it enough for one to see everything in their surroundings. On the walls were pictures. Naruto recognized that some were the Hokages of the past. Tsunade motioned for him to sit. She walked to the other end of the room and took her seat, which faced Naruto's. There were 12 other members seated. The order was as followed. On Naruto's left, Yamanaka Inochi was seated at the first seat, Nara Shikaku was seated at the second seat, Akamichi Shuzua the third seat, Aburame Shibi was seated in the fourth seat, and Jin Wei was seated in the fifth seat. On Naruto's right, Inuzuka Sume was seated in the first seat, Hyuga Hiyashi was seated in the second seat, Hoedo Tsuki was seated in the third seat, Kirai Koi was seated in the fourth seat, and Kataki Waga was seated in the fifth seat. At the head of the council table, Mitokado Homura sat on Tsunade's right while Udatane Kaharu sat on her left. Tsunade was the first to speak. Naruto, do you know why we had asked you to return to Konoha? Naruto folded his arms and looked away. I'm here because the shinobi of the leaf are weak and you need me to save their asses. Everyone in the room with the exception of Tsunade narrowed their eyes at Naruto. She just let out a sigh at his comment. Kaharu spoke next. Uzumaki Naruto. You will show respect while you are in the presence of the council. It's true that your assistance is needed, but you will show some respect. Naruto looked at the old woman and smiled. You talk to me as if I'm one of your shinobi. I don't have to show any of you any respect. You guys want my help, not the other way around. And besides, respect is earned, not given away so freely. Kaharu was angry. She was about to say something when Hiyashi decided to make comment. We have very competent ninjas. We thought that you would love the opportunity that we had decided to present to you. Naruto looked at Hiyashi curiously. Oh, what opportunity are you talking about? To become a shinobi of the leaf again. Tsunade said proudly. Naruto looked at Tsunade. So that's the opportunity that Hyuga was talking about. Wow, I really don't know what to say, Naruto replied with a hint of sarcasm. The council members did not catch it. Tsuki, a middle-aged woman with white-green hair and brown eyes, looked at the Kyuubi container with a smile. You don't have to say anything. We will reinstate you as a leaf shinobi and promote you to Junin. Seeing as you're ranked as an S-class nin in the bingo book, it wouldn't be a problem to do so. You get to enjoy life in Konoha like you did before you left. Naruto looked at Tsuki like he was about to cry with joy. I just want to say. Everyone in the council was smiling. They knew the boy would fight for them as long as they offered him the chance to return home. There was no way he was going to turn down this offer. On the other hand, Tsunade wasn't fooled by Naruto's act for a minute. She looked at Naruto and knew what was coming. When hell freezes over. The council gasped in shock. They soon narrowed their eyes at the blonde. You kicked me out because you said I was the reason why everyone got injured in the mission to rescue Sasuke, and it was also my fault for his defection. I'm sure we all know why you really banished me. But, I'm not going to get into that. As for being a shinobi of Konoha, thanks but no thanks. Inoshi spoke. Naruto, be reasonable. What about your dream? Being a Konoha ninja, you would once again have the chance to become Hokage. That dream died the day I was left to rot by this village. That day was also the birth of a new dream. And what was that dream? Tsunade questioned. To become the strongest ninja in the world. Since that is no longer a dream and is now a reality, I really have no more dreams to pursue. There was laughter around the table from council members. Kataki Waga, an old man with gray hair, black eyes, and a scar on his cheek, made a comment. You may be powerful, kid, but you're not the strongest ninja in the world. Tsunade and Jiraiya are still the best ninjas around. Just because you have that fox to draw power off doesn't make you the strongest. Hiyashi spoke. That's borrowed strength. Don't sit here and get, kid. Who said anything about using the Kyuubi? Yes, it's true that I can draw his power. But I haven't drawn his power ever since I was 12. I say I'm the strongest because I know what I'm capable of even without the fox's power. All of you, on the other hand, have no idea. Tsunade ended their squabble. Naruto doesn't really want to become a ninja of Konoha. Although it saddens me, I respect his wishes. For his services he has asked for a fee of 90 million ryu. Mitokado Homura was outraged. We will not be bullied by some brat. This is an outrageous demand, Tsunade. The vein on Tsunade's head started to bulge. Not another word, Homura. Although this is an outrageous demand, we did ask him for his help. Besides, Naruto's allegiance to Konoha and his reputation might get the Rain to force Cloud to sign a treaty of neutrality. The council knew she was right. It was no doubt that Naruto was feared throughout Rain, who was allied with the Cloud in this war. They knew this was the reason Tsunade suggested that they offer Naruto to become a shinobi again. She also had feelings for the boy as well. Tsunade spoke once more. All in favor for paying for the services of Uzumaki Naruto. Everyone raised their hand. Tsunade smiled. Well, Naruto, we held up our end, so it's time you hold up yours. We will discuss the payment plan at a later date. You are to report to my office at 9 a.m. tomorrow morning, where you will be placed on a team with Chunins and Junins. Tell me who I'm working with, and what the mission is. I'd rather know now. Well, you're teaming up with 4 Chunins and 2 Junins for this mission. Tsunade replied. I asked who they were, not their ranks. For the sake of the mission, I need to know who they are and their capabilities. Tsunade leaned back in her chair, then spoke. Very well. The members of your team will be Sarutobi Konohamaru, Udon, Hyuga Hanabi, Hyuga Hinata, Haruno Sakura, and Uchiha Sasuke, acting as squad leader. Naruto stroked his chin. Why are there 2 Hyugas? Honestly, I think 1 Hyuga is enough. Hinata, in my opinion, should be adequate for this mission. The other Hyuga isn't really needed. Hiyashi's anger was visible to everyone in the council. They all knew how highly he thought of Hanabi, and for Naruto to say that he preferred Hinata over Hanabi was crazy. Hiyashi spoke. Hanabi is the best the Hyuga has to offer. If anything, Hinata is the one not needed on this mission. She is weak. If you're going to suggest a Hyuga, never suggest the weakest of them all. Naruto shook his head in agreement. You're right. Hiyashi smiled at the boy. Naruto returned the smile, then spoke again. Since Neji is clearly the strongest Hyuga, why not have him replace them both? Shikaku actually smiled at Naruto's comment. He knew Naruto was getting under the skin of Hiyashi. He also was glad that he had knocked him down a peg by stating that Neji, a member of the branch house, was stronger than the heir of the main house. Tsunade wanted to laugh but decided to continue. Naruto, both Hyugas are capable. Neji isn't on this team because I need his presence elsewhere. This team I've selected is perfect for the mission at hand. Okay, please inform me of their skills, Naruto replied. Konohamaru's taijutsu is superb. His ninjutsu is a little above average and his genjutsu is mediocre. Udon is the strategist of this team. You have worked with Shikamaru. Udon is the next best thing. All of his other skills are mediocre. Udon may be good, but I would trust a plan developed by Shikamaru with my life. Anyway, please continue. Right. Hanabi is arguably the best Chunin in the village. Her taijutsu skills are superb, and her ability to see through genjutsu as well. Hinata is basically the same as Hanabi, but Hanabi's taijutsu is slightly better. Sakura is the medic of the team. She will try not to fight, but don't worry about protecting her. I've trained her so she is more than capable of handling herself. Sasuke is probably the best ninja in the village. Sasuke isn't really lacking in any skills. Okay, I think that's good enough. Shuza finally decided to speak. You know all of their skills, but nobody really knows yours. Tsunade looked at the big-boned man, then back to Naruto. So, Naruto, what are your skills? Naruto stroked his chin again. Well, my taijutsu, in my opinion, is second to none. My ninjutsu is excellent, and although I'm not a master at genjutsu, I am exceptional in it, and my kenjutsu is only second to one. Tsunade looked at Naruto. She wanted to question him more but knew she wouldn't get the answers she wanted, so she decided to end the meeting. This meeting is over. Naruto, report to my office at 9 a.m. I will tell you the mission overview then. Naruto got up and left the council room. Naruto exited the building and decided to head over to the hotel where his fiancée and her mother were. However, he smelt something that he hadn't smelt or eaten in a long time. Ichiraku ramen. Naruto walked in and took a seat. The old man who ran the shop was behind the counter cooking. He heard the person come in. He didn't turn around to greet the person. Welcome to Ichiraku, How may I help you? Naruto spoke. Old man, you can start by getting your number one customer a big bowl of miso ramen. The old man turned around once he heard the guy say he was his number one customer. When he saw the blonde sitting there, he was excited with joy. Naruto, it's good to see you. This place wasn't the same without you. Well, I had no control over that. But I'm here now and I haven't had a good bowl of ramen in 6 years. Well, don't worry, this one is on the house. I'm just glad you're back. The old man said. Naruto just smiled at the old man. He was happy to be back at the stand. This place was his safe haven while living in this village. Naruto looked all over the shop but couldn't find what he was looking for. Hey, where is Ayame-ne-chan? Looking for me? Naruto turned to where he heard the voice. He saw Ayame standing by the door, which lead to the storage at the back of the shop, in her apron. She really didn't change all that much in his opinion. If anything, she looked better than what he remembered. Ayame-ne-chan, it's so glad to see you. I've really missed you and the old man. Ayame smiled. I missed you too, Naruto-kun. Anyway, what brings you back into town? Naruto's face became serious. Just business. I don't know how long I will be here, but I'm leaving when my job is complete. That's too bad. Father and I really missed you. Well, Naruto, I have a lot of work to do, but please come by the shop again so we can catch up, okay? Naruto smiled at the girl. Will do. See you later, Naruto-kun. She waved and headed back to the storage area at the back of the shop. Later, Ayame-ne-chan. While Naruto was chowing down, the old man leaned on the counter. She's right, you know. Things haven't been the same since you left. I heard what happened. If there was anything that I could have done. He cut the old man off. Don't worry about it. I know you would have. Well, I have to go, thanks for the meal. Naruto got up from the chair and headed to the hotel. As he was walking, he could see the people staring at him. Not the same cold stares, those stares were out of curiousness. He figured it wouldn't be long till word got out about him. Naruto stopped and looked at the hotel. He had finally arrived. After asking the receptionist what room Yumi and Mai was in, he headed to the room. Mai was in the room next to Yumi. Naruto knocked on the door to Yumi's room. At the door stood the prettiest woman he would ever see. Hey, sweetie, she embraced him in a hug. After they broke away, they entered the room. Yumi decided to speak. Naruto-kun, are you okay? I was so worried about you. I'm fine. Anyway, what did you do in the hour that I was gone? Yumi walked to the bed and sat down. Not much really. I was waiting for you to come back so that you could show me around. I mean, if that's okay with you. She knew Naruto's history, so she didn't want to force him into showing her around. Naruto, who was leaning against the wall, walked up and sat next to Yumi. Okay, I'll show you around if that's what you want. Besides, there's one person I want you to meet. She looked at him with a questionable look. Who might this person be? Uruka-sensei. I haven't seen him in a while and I want you to meet him. She smiled. Sure. But can we go before it gets dark? What about your mother? Maybe she wants to come with us. Naruto said. She asked that guy with the white eyes to show her to the bathhouse. But the girl with the blonde hair volunteered. Quote, Naruto knew that she was talking about Ino. He knew Ino wouldn't pass up on this opportunity to try and get Mai to tell her about himself. Naruto didn't worry about it. Mai didn't know what he did prior to meeting her and Yumi. Ino was fishing in a pond with no fish. He laughed in his head knowing that the girl would be mad when she didn't get the information she wanted. The couple exited the hotel and was walking through the busy village. Naruto grabbed Yumi's hand while they walked down the street. Naruto felt he was being watched. Judging by the stealth of the person, he knew that it was his old Junin instructor. He stopped. Yumi got curious, then looked at Naruto. Naruto-kun, why did we stop? Is something wrong? Naruto looked down at the woman who was a head shorter than him. No, nothing's wrong. We're just being followed. But don't worry, we're not in any danger. With that said, Naruto turned to face straight ahead. Kakashi, Asuma, Kurenai, and Guy, you can all come out now. Asuma appeared directly in front of Naruto, Guy appeared on Yumi's left, Kurenai on Naruto's right, and Kakashi was lying in the tree pretending to read his book. Yo, Naruto, Kakashi folded his book and appeared next to Asuma. What do you want, Hatake? Kakashi had expected that from Naruto. Kurenai was looking in awe at how much Naruto had grown. She thought that if he was a couple of years older and she wasn't seeing Asuma, she would consider dating him. Guy spoke in his usual manner. Naruto, it's so good to see you again. Are you enjoying your spring tea of youth? It's good to have you as a leaf ninja again. Naruto looked at Guy with a serious look. I'm not a leaf shinobi. Asuma responded in shock. What? I thought that they reinstated you. Naruto turned to Asuma. They wanted to reinstate me but I declined. Why would you do that, Naruto? Kurenai asked. Do you actually think that I would want to be a shinobi of this village after what had happened 6 years ago? I'm not fighting for this village out of love or loyalty. I'm only here to fulfill my end of a deal. Kakashi spoke. So, what is the deal that has brought you back here? I'm being paid 90 million ryu for my services. After the job is done, I'm leaving this place, he said in disgust. Kurenai was shocked that he was being paid that much, but more shocked that the council had approved. Naruto was getting annoyed, to say the very least. Kakashi, if you don't want anything, please leave me alone. Kakashi looked at Naruto. Then he looked at the girl who was holding on to his left arm. Naruto, who's your friend? This is Yumi, my fiancé. Kurenai looked at the girl. She knew her former student was going to be crushed when she found out that Naruto was engaged. She knew how much the girl cared for Naruto and how hurt and depressed she was when he left. Kurenai remembered it had taken the girl almost a year to get out of her depression. Guy gave Naruto the nice guy pose. Naruto, you had chosen a beautiful flower to share the springtime of youth with. Thanks Guy, Naruto replied with a clueless expression. Asuma spoke. Naruto, you've made quite a name for yourself. You asked Kakashi what we wanted. Well, the reason we're here is. Naruto interjected. You're here to measure my skills. I knew that Tsunade would send somebody to test my skills. No matter, you guys won't see much. I don't intend to break a sweat. Kakashi looked at Naruto with wonder. He wondered if Naruto really came so far that he could dispatch 4 of Konoha's elites. Asuma broke his concentration. I don't think we will be that easy to beat. Naruto replied. Let's get this over with, okay. I promised Yumi that I would show her around. Kakashi decided to speak. Meet us at Team 7's former training ground. With that, all 4 Junin vanished. Naruto looked at Yumi. Walk around and have fun. I'll find you when I'm done. How long do you think you're going to be? 5, 10 minutes tops. Naruto replied. Okay, but you better be back by that time. You know how I hate it when you're late, right? Yumi glared dangerously at Naruto. The blonde warrior gulped. He would rather face an army of Hokages than face an upset Yumi. Don't worry, I'll be back within that time. I promise. He kissed her cheek and was off. She looked at the town to see so many shops. She decided to walk until she saw a clothes shop. Team 7 training ground. Naruto appeared a minute after Kakashi, Kurenai, Asuma, and Guy did. Naruto was standing in the middle while being surrounded by the 4 Junins. Kakashi lifted up his Hitayate to reveal his Sharingan. Guy took a fighting stance, Kurenai did the same. Asuma pulled out his knuckle knives. Kakashi and Guy were standing in front him, while Kurenai and Asuma stood behind him. Kurenai started it off by creating an illusion. Naruto was impressed to say the least. Everyone disappeared from view. All he saw was a barren wasteland devoid of everything. He knew his eyes were deceiving him, so he pulled a black cloth out of his pocket and covered his eyes. Kurenai took to the trees after her jutsu took effect. She was watching and wondering why he did that. She then realized he was blocking his vision. She didn't believe he could beat the illusion by doing this. She knew better than anyone that the illusion also messes with your hearing and sense of smell as well. The only people that could defeat this genjutsu were Uchihas, Hyugas, and people who were masters of genjutsus. Naruto was impressed, but he knew that this was no ordinary genjutsu. He knew that everything that he smelled and heard were distractions from his real targets. But as good of a genjutsu this was, Naruto knew that this wouldn't work on him. He decided who would be the first one he would take out. Naruto vanished from everyone's sight. Kakashi realized where Naruto went. His eyes went wide. He looked at the tree Kurenai was in. "Kurenai, watch out." She turned her head to face the person behind her. Black and gold would be the last thing she would see. Naruto hit her in the back of her neck. He placed his sword back on his back. He then grabbed her and leapt down to the ground where they were still watching. He laid her down in the middle of the field. That genjutsu was one of the strongest I've ever faced. But no genjutsu will be effective against me. I may not be that good at performing them, but I mastered a way to counter all of them. Since the nuisance is out of the way, let us continue. Naruto took off the blindfold. Asuma was shocked that Naruto had broken Kurenai's strongest genjutsu. How the hell did you break it? No one with the exception of the Uchiha and the Hyuga could break that jutsu. Naruto looked at Asuma. Your eyes aren't the only thing to see with. There is one thing that a ninja can't mask no matter what, and that is their chakra signature. I knew where you all were at because I could sense your chakra. So now that you know how I broke it, care to continue? Kakashi formed hand seals. He then shouted, Kaden, Hausenka no Jutsu. Naruto flipped out of the way of the fireballs that were heading his way. He jumped into a tree only to find Asuma behind him. Asuma threw a kick with his left leg. Naruto side flipped out of the tree back onto the training ground. Guy appeared on his right. He threw a punch that Naruto ducked under. But before Naruto could counter, he saw two kunais heading in his direction from his left. The kunai hit him dead on. Guy jumped back after seeing Naruto was hit. It's over, Naruto. Naruto looked up at Guy and smirked. Sorry Guy, but I'm not the real one. The clone then poofed out of existence. Kakashi, who had thrown the kunai, had his eyes widened when he realized what Naruto had done. If anyone could see under his mask, they would have seen him smiling. All Guy saw was Asuma falling out of the tree. He was clearly out cold. Naruto landed next to Asuma. And then there was two. Before we continue, Guy, could you take off your weights? I would like to fight you at your fullest. Guy gave Naruto the nice guy pose. Since you asked so nicely, I will do so. Guy took off the rest of his weights. Kakashi appeared next to Guy. He whispered so Naruto couldn't hear the two. Listen Guy, he's better than I expected him to be. Keep your guard up. Guy shook his head. He dashed off to face Naruto. Guy threw a kick with his right foot. Naruto blocked. Guy was moving so fast that Naruto found himself on the defensive. He knew Guy was fast, but this was incredible. Naruto blocked a punch, but he wasn't so lucky with the next punch. Naruto, my taijutsu is superior to yours. But, I will say that you are extremely talented, however you lack the speed. Naruto smirked. Then let's say I get rid of my ankle weights. I would get rid of the rest, but judging by your speed without your weights, that won't be necessary. Naruto took of the sticker scrolls that were taped on the inside of his sandals. He looked at Guy before blurring out of sight. He appeared in front of Guy with his hand planted in the man's stomach. Guy looked in shock before he fell over, clutching his stomach. Naruto then turned his attention to Kakashi. Kakashi and Naruto took to the air. Kakashi threw a punch which Naruto blocked with ease, and he flipped over Kakashi's punch, landing in front of a tree. As soon as the copy ninja landed, he threw at least 7 shuriken. Naruto dodged them all. The white-haired ninja was expecting him too, for Naruto wasn't his real target. Naruto realized his mistake, but the wires wrapped around him, pinning him to the tree. Kakashi walked up to Naruto. You did well, but you failed to look underneath the underneath. Naruto just looked at Kakashi. No, I did. But maybe you should. Naruto turned into a log of wood. A pair of hands broke through the ground and grabbed his feet. Before he could move, he felt the blade of a sword pressed against his throat. This is over, Kakashi. You all lose. If this was a real mission, you would all be dead. Kakashi was shocked to say the least. When did you make a clone? When I saw you throwing the shuriken, I used Kawarimi, then I made a clone to grab you from underground. That was all the time I needed to get behind you. Naruto placed the sword back in its holster. Kakashi turned around to face him. You've gotten better. I heard the rumors and assumed you were good, but I didn't expect you to be this good. Well, I've been training my off since I left here. Anyway, as fun as it was to beat all of you guys in a. Naruto looked at his wristwatch. 7 minutes span, I really have to get back to Yumi. Later. With that, Naruto disappeared. On a tree nearby, Tsunade watched the whole thing in awe. She had just witnessed Naruto dispatch 4 of Konoha's elite Junins without even breaking a sweat. She spoke out loud to no one in particular. How did he get so strong? He has trained himself beyond human limits. She looked over to her right to see a man she hadn't seen in approximately 6 years. The only word that she could utter was, Jiraiya. Tsunade looked over the man that was once her teammate. To her, not much had changed about him. He still wore the exact same outfit that he wore before he left the village, vowing to not return again. She wondered if he still sees her as a friend or as traitor of some sorts. After all, wasn't this how Naruto saw her? Jiraiya decided to break the silence. It's been a while, Tsunade. Yes, it most certainly has. What brings you back? She asked. Jiraiya, who was leaning against a tree, broke eye contact with the woman before him to look off into space. Well, I haven't seen my student in 6 months. I decided it would be nice to see him. She had a sad look on her face. Oh. Is that the only reason? He decided to meet her eyes again. No. The slug princess was now curious. Then, what is your other reason? My other reason is to be able to tell you not to do it. She had an idea of what he was getting at. Jiraiya, probably more so than anyone else, knew how she felt about Naruto. Tsunade knew, deep down, why Jiraiya told her not to do it, but she decided to question it anyway. Why shouldn't I do it, huh? Give me one good reason. His eyes visibly showed his anger. Give you a reason. I can give you a whole list of reasons, but I won't. But I will give you a reason that should be good enough. For the first time in his life, he is happy. Don't try to ruin his happiness, please. Tsunade looked at her feet. Jiraiya, he belongs home in this village. I have to try and make him see that. I just wish. The toad hermit stopped her before she could finish. You just wish that you can correct your mistake. Unlike Dan and Nawaki, where you didn't have control over the situations, Tsunade tensed up the mention of her lover and brother, you had full control over the situation with Naruto. Tsunade knew everything Jiraiya had said was right. She could have forced the council to give in, but instead, she had agreed to banish Naruto. She never had any intention on making his banishment permanent. She was going to have him return in a couple of years and tell everyone of his heritage. She believed that this would make people accept him more. A tear fell down her cheek. I did what I felt was best for Naruto and the village at the time. Naruto needed to get away, and I believed that in time the villagers would get over what they believed Naruto to be. I sent some of his friends to search for him after 3 years had passed. They never were able to find him because he covered up his tracks so well. I planned on telling the village of his heritage when he returned. She turned to Jiraiya with tears falling down her face freely. Jiraiya, please understand that I never wanted to hurt him. I love him as if he was my own son. He is the only reason why I have remained Hokage. My goal is to free this village of its hate. Jiraiya, I fear that I have lost the chance to make amends. It hurts because I'm the one who has caused him more pain. Jiraiya, I don't know what to do. The blonde placed her hands in her face to grieve. Jiraiya decided to jump to the branch that she was on to console her. He wrapped his arms around her and let her cry in his chest. I thought that you wanted him to serve the village because of his skills. I didn't know that you were doing this because you believed it would benefit him. Now I know what you're really after, Jiraiya stated. Tsunade looked up into his eyes. Jiraiya, how can I get him to stay? This village needs him more than ever. He carries the will of the fire in him. It's going to be hard to get him to return. You will have to sit down with him and talk to him and explain why you did what you did. I know you care about him, but he feels that you had betrayed him. Honestly, I thought you did too. Now that I had heard your reasons for doing what you did what you felt was best, even if it was a wrong decision. Did you ever tell him about his father? She questioned while wiping away her tears. Jiraiya broke the embrace between the two of them. I was planning on telling him of his heritage this year. His father knew that his enemies would harm his son with him gone, so he wanted Naruto to be told when he was 18. He figured Naruto would be strong enough to handle his enemies by then. He willed me and Sarutobi-sensei to let Naruto know of his heritage when he became of age. I'm curious, how did you find out that Yondaime was Naruto's father? I have access to the Hokage's personal files. It was only a matter of time before I found out who his parents were. But it was smart of Sarutobi-sensei to change his last name. Even though they look alike, people wouldn't question it because they simply had different last names. She replied. Yay, that was for Naruto's protection as well. He decided to give the boy his mother's maiden name. Only Sarutobi-sensei and I knew who Naruto's mother was. Minato kept that hidden from everyone else. There was no way anyone could have figured it out, it was set up perfectly. Tsunade spoke once more. Well, it wasn't set up that perfect. One person did manage to figure it out. Jiraiya was shocked to say the least. He wondered who was smart enough to figure it out. Really? Who is this person? He's Konoha's lead strategist. She replied. What's his name? He asked. Nara Shikamaru. Somewhere across town in a barbecue shack. Ahachua. A young man, with a lazy look thought, my allergies must be acting up again. How troublesome. Back to across town, at the trees near Training Ground 7. How did he figure it out? Jiraiya asked. He said he put 2 and 2 together. He came to my office about 2 weeks after Naruto left. Flashback. Tsunade was sitting at her desk in her office. She was going over the decision she made 2 weeks ago. Tsunade's assistant, Shizune, came in her office holding a cute little pig in her arms. Tsunade-sama, Nara Shikamaru is here to see you. The Godime motioned for her to send him in. Nara Shikamaru stood before her in his Chunin vest. She motioned for him to take a seat. What brings you here, Shikamaru? I wish to ask you a personal question. She rested her elbows on the desk. She then placed her head on the back of her hands for support. What is your question? Why did you kick Naruto out this village knowing the sacrifice that his father made to protect it? She decided to make up a factious story about Naruto parents so the boy wouldn't press the matter further. What are talking about? Naruto was an orphan, no one know who his parents are. Shikamaru looked at her with a serious look. You can play dumb all you want, but I know the truth. You're right, Naruto was an orphan. But I started to think, why did the villagers hate Naruto so much? I mean, he was a prankster, but that's not a good enough reason to hate him as much as the villagers did. So I started putting things together. Tsunade knew where he was going with this. She prayed that she was wrong. So, tell me, what did you find out? First I remembered our academy days. My parents and most of the parents, correction all of the parents, told their kids to stay away from him because he was nothing but trouble. I also overheard some old man calling him a good-for-nothing monster. But why would they call him that? This is a theory you came up with, so you tell me, the Hokage stated. The lazy Chunin continued, it wasn't until recently that I started to think things over, before it was just too troublesome. Then it all hit me like a ton of bricks. The one clue that put all of the pieces together was the fact about Naruto's birthday. It's not unusual for someone to be born October 10th, but he was born exactly when the Kyuubi attacked. I only knew his birthday because I overheard Hinata asking Iruka-sensei his birthday. She never specified her real reason, but I figured out her reason when he came to class the next day sporting a pair of goggles on his head, telling Iruka that someone gave him a birthday gift. You're rambling, Nara. Godime stated in a bored tone. I suppose. But here is what I came up with. There was no way the fourth could kill the Kyuubi. Do you doubt his skills? No, just stating a fact. I did some research of my own. I asked Gaara's sister about the demon that was sealed inside of him. I asked her why didn't they kill it like the Yondaime had killed the Kyuubi. She laughed at me and told me that there was no way for a human to kill a demon. She believed that the fourth had to seal it inside of something. I was informed the demon that was inside of Gaara was the one-tailed demon Shukaku. I thought it was too troublesome to argue about how the fourth had killed the 9 tails. But she made me wonder, how do you kill a demon? So I started to research demons. She was right, there is no way you can kill a demon. Since Kyuubi is the strongest of the tailed beasts, the only way he could be defeated was by being sealed inside something. You can't seal it in an adult because the adult would die. The only feasible option is a newborn, so both the demon and the newborn's chakra could fuse. What are you getting at, Nara? She stated in a tone that was openly showed that her patience was wearing thin. Naruto is hated by the village. His birthday is the day the Kyuubi attack. The red chakra he used to beat Neji in the Chunin exams. What I'm getting at is that Naruto is the container for the Kyuubi and the son of Yondaime Hokage. There was a minute of silence. How did you know? She questioned. Know that he was the son of the fourth? Yes. Tell me how. She asked. After I figured out he was the container for the Kyuubi, the rest fell into place. Everyone said the fourth was an honorable man, so there is no way he would ask a villager to sacrifice one of their babies. So I figured he would sacrifice his own son instead. Also, the blonde hair and blue eyes are a dead giveaway. The Godime spoke. You know all this, what else do you know? Well, that's where you come in to fill in the blanks. You see, I know that Yondaime's name was Namikaze Minato. The history files never said anything about him having a kid or even a wife. So I looked up the name Uzumaki in the historical archives and found the name of a woman called Uzumaki Kushina. I figure that she is Naruto's mother and the fourth's wife. You seem to know more than you should. What do you need me to fill in? She questioned. Why were his marriage and his son hidden from the village? Tsunade got up to look out the window. She looked at the setting sun. With her hands behind her back, she kept her gaze at the sky. Tsunade spoke. I don't know why his marriage was hidden, but if I had to guess, it was to protect his wife from his enemies. As for Naruto, I suspect Sandaime had a hand in covering up his heritage to the village. I believe he did this for the same reason that the Yondaime covered up his marriage. It makes sense. Yondaime did have many enemies because of the Iwa-Konoha War. What better way to get payback on a man than to go after his family? The lazy Chunin replied. She turned to Shikamaru. You seem to know everything I know. As for me banishing Naruto, it was for his own good as well as the village. This village hates him, so I sent him away in hopes he would get stronger. I know Jiraiya is keeping tabs on him, so I don't have to worry about his safety. When the time is right, I plan to send for him to tell him and the village everything. Well, if that is all, then you are dismissed. Shikamaru got up out of the chair and left the office. End of flashback. So you do know me as well as I thought. The perverted hermit responded. I knew you wouldn't leave him to die. Tsunade stated. Well, I did keep tabs on him, but I wasn't with him. Let's just say that I influenced his training more than he knows. How so? She questioned. Jiraiya responded. Well, I followed him to Water Country. There I met up with an old friend by the name of Saichi Kato. Her eyes widened. One of the 7 swordsmen of the mist. Last I heard, he was a ruthless Nin. No, he just left his country because he discovered the corruption of his village in the Mizukage. Since he owed me a favor, I asked him to train Naruto in the art of the sword. I also asked that he teach him some water justice and better chakra control. He complied and kept me updated on Naruto's performance. He left Kado after 2 years of training with him and doing missions. Wait a minute, he was only 14 then. What did he do during the next year? She asked. Well, he went to sea country. I got word that that was where he was heading, so I asked a dear friend of mine by the name Ryaho to finish up his sword training. The perverted hermit replied. Impossible. There is no way that a samurai, and the best one in the world at that, would train a ninja in his art, stated the godime bluntly. Well, he was returning a favor, not to me anyways. You see, Minato had introduced him to his wife, so I suggested it was only right that he return the favor by training Minato's only son. I also informed him to keep Naruto's heritage a secret. We set it up so that he challenged Naruto to a sword fight. He won, of course, and offered to train Naruto. Because of his previous sword training under Kado, it only took him a year to master the style. So he wasn't kidding when he said that his sword skills were only second to one, stated the Slug Princess. Nope, the kid really is a great swordsman. Anyway, the day he left the Minato clan, I was waiting for him outside of the compound. I informed it was time to finish his training. For the next year I worked him into the ground. When he left me, there was no doubt in my mind that he was one of the strongest fighters in the world, he said confidently. I knew you would protect him. I'm just glad it was long enough for us to defeat Akatsuki and the Sound. If they would have got him, I don't know what I would have done. Jiraiya spoke once more. Well, he was the reason you guys beat Akatsuki in the first place. Her curiosity forced her to ask, how do you figure so? Well, he did take out 3 of 4 of their key members. He took out Kazuya Aang, Iwas, Gemstone, Bai Hoshu of the Rain, and the leader Sucho Tasku, the Clouds, Red Lighting, he stated. Jiraiya, out of the top 5 S-class criminals in the bingo book, you just named 3. Those fighters would be hard for even us to beat. The Slug Princess stated. The only ones who could give us a run for our money is Red Lighting, Orochimaru, and Itachi. He replied. Well, since all of them are dead, the only ones who could give us a run for our money now are Sasuke and Naruto. She stated. So he did kill Itachi. You know Orochimaru only went after him because he couldn't defeat Itachi. Jiraiya replied. Yay, that's what I figured. Anyway, those 2 are probably stronger than us now, told the white-haired man. Jiraiya wondered if Tsunade was going to retire soon. He knew that she always wanted to give her position Naruto, but since he was no longer a member of the village, she wondered who she would select to be the Rokudime Hokage. Tsunade, have decided who will replace you as Hokage? She simply replied, no. There was an uncomfortable silence. The wind began to pick up, rustling her blonde pigtails and her green robe and his white hair as well his red robe. So are just going leave the position unfilled? She responded, I already told the council that I will not be selecting a successor. So they have decided to select Uchiha Sasuke as the Rokudime. You already know who I wanted to replace me. Giving her a light-hearted smile, he placed a hand on her shoulder. Yeah, I do. Anyway, let's get out of this tree and head to a local bar. I think we could both use some sake. She smiled at the white-haired man. Sounds like a great plan. Jiraiya and Tsunade jumped out of the trees and headed back to the town. Naruto had just finished his fight with Kakashi and the other Junins. He was now looking for Yumi, but he couldn't find her anywhere. He looked at his watch and knew that his 10 minutes were almost up. Think Naruto, where the hell could she be? In that instant he got it. He ran to the nearest clothing shop in the area. Naruto entered the shop and found Yumi looking at some shirts. He let out a sigh of relief. He decided to slide behind, put his hands over her eyes. Guess who? Yumi smiled, already knowing it was her loving Naruto. I suspect it's my Naruto-kun, but he said that he would be here in 5 minutes. Oh, that's right, you said 10 minutes max. I guess they must have been good if they kept you for more than 5 minutes. Either that or you're not a very good ninja. Naruto took his hand away from her eyes. She turned to face him so she could look him in the eyes when spoke. That was cold, Yumi. But I'll show you how great of a ninja I am. She quirked her eyebrow. How do you intend to do that, Uzumaki-sama? He gave her an evil smile, like this. He started tickling her all over. She was helpless to do anything but giggle. He finally stopped with a satisfied smirk. The great Uzumaki is always triumphant in the end. She walked up to him and tiptoed to his ear to speak so no one could but him. You may have won the battle, but my lingerie will win the war. I see. It seems that I will never win a war against you, he said in a defeated tone. She walked back to look at the clothes. She then turned her head slightly to reveal a smile that spread across her face. Nope, not ever. He scratched the back of his head, a habit which had survived with him from his genin days. Well, I guess I can live with that. Are you almost done? I want to go see Iruka-sensei. Actually, I've been done for a while. I was just waiting for you. Yumi replied. Really? Where are the shopping bags? Naruto questioned. I had them delivered to the hotel. There was a little boy in here looking for some clothes, so I asked him if he would take my clothes back to the hotel for me. I paid him for his service, of course. When we return, I'll just pick them up at the front desk. Okay, let's go. Naruto extended his hand for Yumi to grab. They exited the shop and headed to the academy. It was late in the afternoon and class was already out. Naruto knew that Iruka would be grading papers in his class. Naruto and Yumi arrived at the academy. Naruto was taking in his surroundings and reminiscing his childhood. Although he did have a bad childhood, there were some good times. He remembered a time when Choji, Shikamaru, Kiba, and himself had ditched Iruka and ran out of the classroom after he had given them an important lecture. He entered the class but he didn't see Iruka. He saw a bowl of ramen on the side of a desk filled with paper. He guessed Iruka had stepped out for a second, so he decided to look around. He looked at the seats, which were the same. He looked at the seat that him and Choji used to sit in and exchange snacks. He looked up to the seat at the back of the class where him and Shikamaru uses to sleep. He smiled to himself. Those were the good times. Unknowingly to Naruto and Yumi, a man with a hairstyle that resembled a pineapple and a scar lying across his nose entered the room. Excuse me, may I help the two of you? Iruka asked. Yumi turned her gaze from the window to the man who had entered the room. Naruto, however, decided not to turn around. He just closed his eyes and smiled. It's been a while, Iruka-sensei. Naruto turned around to face the man he saw as a father figure. Iruka gasped in shock. He couldn't believe the person before his eyes. After looking Naruto up and down to make sure it was him, he revealed a smile. Naruto, is it really you? The one and only, he replied proudly. Iruka and Naruto seemed to move simultaneously. They embraced each other in a hug, which was to be expected since they hadn't seen each other in years. They broke their embrace. Iruka was the first to speak. Naruto, how you been? I was worried sick. Where did you go? Are you okay? A drop of sweat appeared on the back of Naruto's head. Slow down. He gathered himself. I've been good. Did you get the letters that I sent you? Each one that you sent me. I just wish you left an address so I could write back. The academy teacher replied. Iruka looked at Naruto. He realized that there was a lady standing next to him. Naruto, who is your friend? Oh, where are my manners? Iruka-sensei, this is Yumi. Yumi, meet Iruka-sensei. Naruto introduced the two. They both shook hands. So this is the Yumi that I've been hearing so much about in your letters. Naruto, you have a beautiful girlfriend, Iruka complimented. Yumi blushed. Why, thank you, sir. And soon to be wife. Naruto muttered softly so no one could hear. Please, just call me Iruka. Naruto spoke before silence could take over. Iruka-sensei, I assume you gave me up to Oba-chan. Iruka looked like he was about to apologize, but Naruto cut him off before he could say anything. Don't worry about it. I know you wouldn't have done it if you thought that they were going to hurt me. Iruka spoke. I only did it because they said that they was going to reinstate you as ninja again. I know it's selfish, but I just wanted you back home so I could see you. Don't worry. I'm here for the time being. I've got a feeling I'm going to be here for a while, so we will definitely have time to catch up. The ninja known as the Golden Fox replied. Naruto grabbed Yumi's hand and they both headed towards the exit. Iruka spoke before they left. Naruto, it is really good to see you again. Naruto stopped at the doorway. It's good to see you too, Iruka-sensei. It's good to see you too. Naruto and Yumi exited the classroom. Iruka went back to his desk and returned to grading papers. He opened his desk drawer to reveal a blue Hittite with the leaf symbol engraved on the metal plate. He smiled at the sight of the blue headband. After closing the drawer, he returned back to grading papers. At a local barbecue shack, sitting at a table, with a grill in the middle, that seated at least 12, were 12 Junins. The Junins that were sitting at the restaurants were Mid Minato Anko, Yuahi Kurenai, Sarutobi Asuma, Hitaki Kakashi, Maeda Gai, Genma, Hyuga Neji, Ebisu, Nara Shikamaru, Akamichi Choji, Tenten, and Rock Lee. Gai was telling all of those who had not participated in the skirmish with Naruto about how easily they were defeated. Everyone, with the exception of Kurenai, Asuma, and Kakashi, was shocked. Impossible. There is no way he could beat all four of you. Anko stated. I wish that was true, Anko, but he made us look like rookies who didn't know their place. Asuma said while preparing to smoke a cigarette. He's that good, Anko. He even broke my powerful genjutsu. Kurenai replied. Everyone was shocked. The Senbon fell out of Genma's mouth. Kurenai was the village's genjutsu specialist. To hear that Naruto broke her most powerful genjutsu was surprising. Shikamaru decided to speak. I bet the Hokage put you up to the troublesome task of testing Naruto's abilities. Yes, she did. Truth be told, I didn't expect him to improve that much. If I had to guess, I would say he's on par with Sasuke. Kakashi replied. Ebisu spoke. You may be right. Neji, who was sipping his tea, put it down to speak. I don't know what his skill level is now, but he most certainly improved. He looked at Tenten and Shikamaru. You two had to notice it when we were sent to retrieve him. Tenten wondered what Neji was getting at. What do you mean, Neji? Shikamaru answered. He means how Naruto was able to get behind Ino without her even noticing until the kunai was at her neck. To tell you the truth, I don't think my shadow bind would have held him if he was serious. He even knew who we were. He called all of us out, remember? Asuma, remembering what Naruto had said before he knocked Kurenai out, well, he did say something about seeing without your eyes before he knocked Kurenai out. What do you think he meant by that? Lee questioned. Kakashi decided to answer. He told us that he was able to sense our chakra signatures. I'm guessing that's how he was able to defeat Kurenai's genjutsu. Well, I wonder who is stronger. Naruto or Sasuke? Anko questioned. Tenten responded. Probably Sasuke. He did defeat Itachi, who was said to be even stronger than Orochimaru. Anko looked at Tenten. You're probably right. Sasuke-kun is in line to be the next Hokage. He also knows tons of jutsus. Neji wasn't so sure that Sasuke was stronger. He knew that Naruto was playing with him and the others back in Sun Country. He knew there was a lot more to Naruto than met the eye. Well, that might be a fight we LLC in the near future. They are going on a mission together tomorrow. Shikamaru said. Tenten spoke. They were teammates. I'm sure that they won't fight. You're wrong, Kakashi interrupted. Sasuke and Naruto are rivals. Although they worked well together when the situation called for it, they always were trying to outdo the other. They always fought each other. I think Naruto was the reason Sasuke defected in the first place. What do you mean? Kurenai wondered. Sasuke was always number one in his class. Naruto was the dead last. Sasuke saw that Naruto was improving greatly and thought that he wasn't progressing fast enough. The day after Tsunade had returned, I found them on the roof fighting. I had to interject before they killed each other. Sasuke with a Chidori in his left hand was about to collide with a Rasengan in Naruto's right hand. He knows the Rasengan. Anko yelled out. Almost everyone at the table were shocked while some were confused. What is the Rasengan? Choji asked with food in his mouth. I think it's a swirling ball of chakra gathered in the hand. Am I correct, Kakashi? Shikamaru questioned. Yes, but how do you know he knew that technique? He used it on one of the sound nins on our mission to retrieve Sasuke. Shikamaru explained. It's also an A-ranked jutsu only known to Jiraiya-sama and the Yondaime. Kurenai replied. A fight between the two is almost inevitable. Kakashi stated. Well, Sasuke did defeat Gaara, who has Shukaku sealed inside of him, so I'm sure he can best even Naruto. Tenten stated. You're wrong, Shikamaru stated. Wrong about Sasuke being able to beat Naruto. Tenten replied. No, you're wrong about Sasuke defeating Gaara. Naruto was the one who defeated Gaara. Everyone at the table was in shock. Kakashi was curious because he had always thought that Sasuke defeated Gaara. All of the villagers had thought that it was their precious Uchiha. Shikamaru was one of the few that knew the truth. Tamari saw the whole battle. She told me that Naruto saved Sasuke from being killed by Gaara. Well, here's how she described it. Gaara had jumped at Sasuke again, but Sakura jumped in front of him. He slammed her into a tree. He used a giant hand made out of sand to press her against the tree and render her unconscious. I was also told that Naruto created at least 50 Kage Bunshin. He then proceeded to beat Gaara. When Gaara transformed in his Shukaku state, Naruto summoned a giant toad. Naruto can summon Gambunta as well. Kurenai asked with wide eyes. Not surprising, seeing as Jiraiya-sama trained him for the third round of the Chunin exams, Ebisu stated. I thought that you trained him, Ebisu. Kakashi asked. Well, I was going to. I decided to work on his Charka control, so I took him to the hot springs. I figure that it would give him more incentive to stay above water since the water there was hot. Sure. That's the reason. Pervert, Genma said, him in the waist, grinning. I'm not a pervert. I did it for his benefit, really. Anyway, we met Jiraiya-sama there and he took over Naruto's training. Well, like I was saying, Tamari said Naruto summoned a huge frog to fight Gaara. Long story short, Naruto defeated Gaara, not everyone's precious Uchiha. Shikamaru finished. What's that supposed to mean? Anko asked with a little anger in her voice. Shikamaru stood up. It's too troublesome to explain. Besides, I have to hand in my mission report, so I will see you guys. Shikamaru headed to the exit. Naruto and Yumi were walking down the street. Since the sun was setting, they decided to head back to the hotel. Naruto heard a woman's voice call his name and Yumi turned around to see a brunette with clouds cover her private areas. Naruto just smiled. Yumi was furious at the woman. Until she transformed into a teenage boy with the standard uniform of a leaf Chunin. Naruto Ni-san, that was a smoker of a jutsu, The teen stated. Naruto just smiled. Konohamaru, I'm not a kid anymore, so I forbid you to use that ridiculous jutsu. Yumi was thinking to herself, that is a pathetic ninja technique if I ever see one. It's appalling to all women. That's something a pervert would use and enjoy. Good thing my Naruto isn't the category of the former or the latter. She was pleased with her husband-to-be. Naruto pumped his fist and screamed, now let me show you the ultimate no jutsu ever created to man. Realizing what Naruto had said, Yumi responded with a slap to the back of his head. Baka, if I ever catch you doing something as ridiculous as that, you can forget about ever touching me again. Naruto recovered from the smack. He then greeted Konohamaru. Hey Konohamaru, how's it hanging? Pretty good bro, I heard we're doing a mission together tomorrow. It's going to be wicked awesome to work with you bro. I know you have tons of kick-ass jutsus. Konohamaru said with excitement. Yeah, I know a lot of jutsus. Maybe I can show you one, Naruto said. Yumi glared at him. It better not be the one that you were talking about earlier. Or else. Naruto put his hand up in defense. No, 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 it's something different completely. Konohamaru spoke. Hey bro, who's the hot chick? Is she your? Konohamaru showed Naruto his pinky. Grinning from ear to ear, Naruto replied, Yep. I did pretty well for myself, don't you think? What about you, Konohamaru? Do you have a special girl? Well, I like Hyuga Hanabi, but I don't think she likes anyone. She acts as if she's too good to socialize with me. But for some reason I still like her. Konohamaru confessed his feeling toward the Hyuga heir to Naruto. Don't worry, Konohamaru, most Hyugas are snobs. If you can't convince her to see how great you are, then it's her loss. Naruto gave his opinion. Naruto and Konohamaru were smiling. Both of their ninja senses kicked in. They quickly turned to the right to see 5 kunais coming in their direction. Naruto grabbed Yumi before she knew what was going on and flipped out of the way. Konohamaru sensed the kunais and flipped out of the way. Naruto landed a foot away from where the kunai was embedded into the floor. He looked to the direction where kunai came from. On the roof stood a man with a Junin vest, black sweats with the shins bandaged and a black long-sleeved shirt. On the arm of his shirt was the symbol of the Uchiha clan. Naruto narrowed his eyes at recognizing at who it was. In angry tone, he decided to speak, Uchiha, Sasuke. Sasuke flipped of the roof and landed in front Naruto. He sported his infamous smirk. You're as slow as ever, Dobi. Naruto basically growled his next comment, what do you want, Sasuke? Yumi was looking at Sasuke. Naruto had told her about Sasuke and how they fought at this place called the Valley of the End, but he never told her details of the battle. All he said was that he lost. Just came to check out if the rumors were true. Sasuke answered. Those rumors would be that you were back in town. I also heard that you beat Kakashi, Guy, Kurenai, and Asuma. Not bad, Dobi. The Uchiha replied. Naruto was wearing a smirk. A lot has changed. No offense, but you're not even a match for me, Sasuke-chan. Sasuke's eyes narrowed. He was pissed. Naruto knew that Barb would anger Sasuke. That's exactly what he wanted. Sasuke calmed down. Your girlfriend is very attractive. Getting her is probably the only thing you did right, Dobi. Naruto was getting pissed. He knew what Sasuke was doing because he was doing the same thing. I never knew you liked girls, Sasuke-chan. I mean, you always rejected your fangirls. I always thought you played for the other team. Konohamaru and Yumi could feel the tension between the two. They knew that the two were about to explode. Yumi decided to grab Naruto's arm and drag him to the hotel. Naruto-kun, let's go. Naruto nodded and decided to walk off. Sasuke spoke. Getting saved by his girl, that's what I expected of you, Dobi. Naruto stopped immediately. He was now officially pissed. He was not going to let this slide. He turned to face Sasuke against Yumi's protest. You know, Sasuke, I don't like fighting with words. I'd rather use my fist. Sasuke smirked. He had gotten what he wanted. There is a training area about a mile from here. We could do a lot of talking there if you'd like. Sasuke pointed to Yumi. Bring her too. I want her to see you get your kicked. He then poofed away to the training ground. Naruto looked Konohamaru, who was next to him. Protect her when we get to the training ground. Konohamaru was worried for Naruto. He knew that Sasuke was probably the strongest in the village. Naruto-Nisan, I don't think you should fight Sasuke. And why shouldn't I? Naruto asked. Because he's going to be the Rokudime, the teen stated. Naruto became even angrier after that revelation. He just kept thinking about how it was unfair that Sasuke got everything. He had to work hard to get anything, and everything seems to just fall in Sasuke's lap. Sasuke was number 1 in school. Sasuke had the affection of the girl he once cared deeply for. Sasuke was personally trained by their Junin instructor while he was left to rot. Now it seems that Sasuke was going to live the dream, which he wished, deep down, he could live. It was just so unfair. He looked at Konohamaru. Well, I guess you will get to see that my power is on the level of a cage. Meet me there. Naruto poofed to training ground 7. Sasuke was standing in the middle of the clearing. Naruto and Sasuke were staring at each other intently. The power that was radiating off of them was similar to when Orochimaru and Sandaime were fighting. They just stood there looking at each other for 2 minutes. Konohamaru had arrived with Yumi. They were a distance away. Kakashi and those who were at the barbecue shack had felt the immense power and came to check it out. They all landed next to Konohamaru. The Anbu squad came when they felt Sasuke and an unfamiliar power. They surround Naruto. Sasuke spoke to the Anbu squad, "Stand down." A man with a bear mask spoke, "Sasuke-sama, we have a duty to take in anyone who acts against a shinobi of the leaf. I said to stand down. Don't get involved no matter what happens." He said this while looking at Naruto the whole time. The Anbu squad decided to watch the fight. Tsunade and Jiraiya walked up next to the small group that consisted of ninjas. "What is going on here?" Tsunade asked. "Naruto Nisan is about to kick Sasuke's." Konohamaru replied. Hanabi, who was training with Hinata, had felt the power that came from them earlier. Her and Hinata had arrived in time to hear Konohamaru's proclamation. She decided to comment on what she thought to be a ridicule's comment. "You really are a fool, monkey boy. Naruto can't beat Sasuke-sama. He's going to be the Rokudaime, no way he loses to him." Naruto looked to his left to see a lot ninjas looking at him and Sasuke. He saw Konohamaru with Yumi. She was the only person he was looking for, however he saw the one person that had broke his heart 6 years ago. His eyes narrowed when she came next to Tsunade. The pink-haired Kunoichi, known as Sakura, has not changed a bit. Granted, she got taller and her wardrobe now consisted of a red top, a beige skirt with black shorts under, and black knee-high sandals. Naruto just smiled. This was the perfect opportunity to beat Sasuke in front Kakashi, Sakura and everyone else. He turned back to Sasuke and was smiling. Sasuke was curious. "What are you smiling at, Dobi?" "Just smiling at how I'm going to show everyone how weak you really are, Sasuke." Sasuke's eyes narrowed at that statement. Naruto calling Sasuke-chan was one thing, but saying that he was a fag boy was over the line. He shifted into a fighting stance, "Then show me." "With pleasure." Naruto and Sasuke formed hand seals faster than anyone could follow, and they both yelled, "Kaden. Ruka no Jutsu." A big dragon flew from both their mouth. Both dragons collided and cancelled each other out. No one could see what happened after that due to the dirt blocking their vision. Tsunade was about to stop their battle when Jiraiya grabbed her. "Don't get involved. They have some unresolved issues that they need to settle. Just sit back and watch the show. I guarantee that we won't see a fight like this again." Sakura was looking, trying to see what was happening. Neji saw her worry, so he decided to tell her what was happening. They are engaging in a taijutsu match, neither one is getting the upper hand. When the dust cleared, everyone saw both fighters blocking the other's punches and kicks. Sasuke did a roundhouse kick that sent Naruto into a nearby tree. Everyone was looking on in amazement. Naruto rubbed his jaw. "Damn, he's good. I didn't want to do this, but I guess I have no choice." Naruto walked back the clearing where Sasuke stood in his fighting stance. "That was a nice kick. But let's stop playing with each other. How about you take off your weights and I take off mine so we can pick up where we left off 6 years ago?" Naruto complimented. Sasuke spoke in a mocking tone, "You sure that's what you want? When I take off my weights, this fight is going to be more or less over." "Just take them off already," Naruto said in bored tone. Both warriors took of their weights. Sasuke took of his wrist, ankle, and vest, which were all weighted. Naruto took off the weight tag that was in his shoes. He also took off the ones that were under his wristbands as well as the one that was under his shirt and his pants. Naruto was ready. Both warriors blurred out of everyone's sight. Kakashi was stunned. Anko spoke. "What the hell? Where did they go? They're moving at a high speed. I can follow them but barely. They are exchanging blows." Lee committed. Out of everyone that was there, only Jiraiya and Tsunade saw what exactly was happening. Kakashi, Lee, and Guy were barely keeping up with the speed. Jiraiya, who was looking at the fight intently, smiled. He knew what had just happened. Sasuke had just got kicked in his face. Everyone, except those who could follow the fight, had saw Sasuke fly into a tree. Neji smirked. Looks like the Uchiha is eating dirt. Most of the ninjas that were there couldn't believe what they had just heard. Sasuke was on par with the Godime. When the lot of ninjas and Sasuke fans saw that he was pulling himself out of the little ditch, they were surprised to say the least. Impossible. I never seen anyone who was able to lay a hit on Sasuke-sama, an Anbu guard said. Who does that guy think he is, hurting Sasuke-kun? Said a Chunin fan girl. Yumi looked at the girl. That's my Naruto-kun. This Sasuke of yours can't ever beat my Naruto. Hinata tensed up at what the girl had said. The happiness that she held regarding his return had died there and then. I should have told how him I felt when we were younger. I should have followed my heart and left with him when I saw him leave that day. I just wish that. Her thoughts were cut off by the Anbu man with the frog mask, who looked at Yumi. You mean Naruto, as in the Golden Fox? She looked back at Naruto, who was waiting for Sasuke to pull himself together, the very same. Sasuke finally got up. His lip was bleeding. He wiped the blood away with the back of his hand. He smiled. The dobi got better. No matter. I'm still going to kick his. Sasuke did some hand seals. When he was finished, his right hand was holding his left wrist. The Chidori was forming in his left hand. Naruto held out his right hand to form the Rasengan. I held back last time, Sasuke. This time I won't. The promise that I made with Haruno no longer applies. You better come at me with everything you got. Sakura heard Naruto had called her by her clan name instead of her given name. She was hurt, but after what she did to him she couldn't blame him. She just hoped that he and Sasuke didn't get hurt. She looked at Yumi, who had earlier told a Chunin that her Naruto-kun wouldn't lose to Sasuke. She wondered if this girl was Naruto's girlfriend. Sasuke knew that Naruto was serious. He always wondered why Naruto held back, and now he had his answer. It was because of Sakura. Sasuke looked at Naruto with a steely gaze. I plan to do just that. They continued to look each other for a second. When the second that seemed like an eternity ended, they both took off at each other, armed with two of the most fearsome jutsus ever created. Everyone looked on in awe, waiting to see what happened next. Naruto and Sasuke ran at full speed towards one another. The distance, which seemed like a mile, began to close. The sound of 1,000 birds was heard throughout the area. As Sasuke ran forward, the ground underneath his Chidori began to break like glass subjected to a high pitch. Naruto's Rasengan was a perfect orb, with chakra spinning inside of it. Sasuke pulled his arm back. Naruto did the same with his right hand, both preparing to thrust forward their trademark attacks. Both warriors thrust their arms towards one another, and before the jutsus made contact they yelled, Rasengan, Chidori. Both jutsus made contact. There was a big flash of light emitted from the jutsus that caused everyone to squint. When the light died down and both figures were visible, everyone saw both warriors trying to overpower the other. Kakashi was looking on in shock, Jiraiya was wearing a grin, and Sakura looked like she was worried. Sakura was about to say something to Kakashi, but before she could, an explosion had occurred. She quickly turned away from the copy nin to see what happened between Naruto and Sasuke. Both warriors were flying back into the direction they came. Naruto did a flip mid-flight to and landed on his feet. He stood as if nothing had happened. Sasuke did the same. Sasuke was furious that his attack didn't work. He had put everything he had, and it was cancelled out. But that wasn't the thing that made him furious. What really pissed him off was that Naruto was standing there as if he was unfazed by his attack at all. Sasuke thought to himself, how the hell can he stand there and act like that didn't faze him? I know he's hurt. The dobi is just acting tough. No matter, I'll prove that I'm stronger. Naruto was a little surprised that his attack was equal ground. But he wasn't that surprised since he didn't put everything he had into it. Naruto thought to himself, I should have pumped more chakra into my Rasengan. He wouldn't be standing there all nonchalant. This is going to be so fun, he has no idea that I'm still holding back. Jiraiya wondered why Naruto didn't pump more into his Rasengan. He knew what Naruto was capable of with that technique, and by no chance should the Chidori should have equaled it in power. He spoke his thoughts, Naruto, why didn't you put more power into the Rasengan? Tsunade looked at Jiraiya, you're telling me that he's not going all out. Jiraiya realized that he spoke out loud. He cursed himself for that. He wanted Naruto to surprise them with what he was holding back. To keep the surprise, the Toad Hermit decided to keep his answer short, no, he is not going all out. Everyone's attention turned to Jiraiya. He could sense that everyone was looking at him, some probably wanted to ask questions. He responded before anyone could question how he knew that Naruto was holding back, don't worry, you will all see in due time. Naruto looked at Sasuke. He smirked. Then he spoke, hey Sasuke, let's take this up a notch. Sasuke gave his infamous smirk, sure let's do that. Sasuke vanished from sight. Naruto's eyes went wide. He didn't even see where Sasuke went until he felt a kick planted on his chin. Naruto was suspended in mid-air. Sasuke appeared directly behind him. Naruto turned his head slightly to see a smirking Sasuke. From here on out it's all original. The Uchiha stated. Sasuke threw a punch with his left, expecting Naruto to block it. He swung around, making Naruto think he was going to kick with his right leg. He then planted the back of his left hand, which was balled up into a fist into Naruto's face. Naruto was sent hurling to the ground. Sasuke punched him in the stomach with his right hand, and then he followed it with his left. Both punches was followed by Sasuke doing a front flip that landed in Naruto's stomach. Sasuke yelled, Shishi Renden. Sasuke bent his body so he could do a back flip. He smiled as he looked at Naruto. Everyone else looked on. Konohamaru, Yumi, and Tsunade looked on in shock. Everyone else seemed to expect this. Hanabi looked at Konohamaru then laughed. You said he was going to kick whose? Pathetic. He stood no chance. Konohamaru couldn't say anything. She was right. Naruto was lying before Sasuke beaten. From what he could see, Naruto was passed out. He was hoping that his brother would knock the arrogant Uchiha down a bit. He wasn't the only one. Neji had wanted this too. Jiraiya was cool as a cucumber. He didn't look surprised about what just happened. Jiraiya just smiled. Neji caught on to this. Something wasn't right. He believed the old man knew something. Hinata was hoping that Naruto got back up. No one took notice, but she was glaring at Sasuke. Sasuke stood there triumphant. He began to speak. You have improved Dobi, but I'm still better. Did you really think you were better than me? It's sad your girlfriend had to see this, but you were too weak to do anything. I am your better, know it and understand it. HMPH, the Golden Fox, more like the beaten kit. Still think of me as the dead last I see. A familiar voice stated. Sasuke's eyes went wide. He looked at Naruto who was in a crater. Naruto turned into a huge rock. Sasuke's eyes narrowed out of anger. Naruto had escaped his Shishi Renden. Everyone looked behind them to see Naruto standing on a tree branch, arms folded, while leaning on the trunk of the tree. He jumped down and landed behind everyone that was gathered. He walked up to Yumi who was happy that he was okay. He smiled at her then spoke, don't worry, that kick was weak. Anyway, I have to kick everyone's precious Sasuke. Tsunade and Jiraiya laughed at the remark. Neji grinned at it. Lee and Guy's jaw was hanging at what Naruto said. Before Naruto proceeded, he stopped and looked at Hanabi with cold eyes. It seems that you were wrong about me. I think it's time I show everyone that Sasuke isn't so great. Since you said I was pathetic, I will leave you with no doubts about my ability after this battle. Naruto turned to look at Jiraiya with a serious look. Then he smiled. Aro-Sennin, I think it's time I become the feather, don't you think? Jiraiya nodded with a smile. Do what you want. Just don't embarrass him too much. Not a prob. Naruto stated. He walked until everyone was at least 10 feet behind him. If looks could kill, then Sasuke glare would have killed Naruto. Naruto just kept on smiling. You're probably wondering how I escaped from the technique you stole from Lee. Well, it wasn't hard. When you brought your foot down to kick me, I shielded my chest area with chakra. Much like how Neji does. I then used a Kawarimi with a nearby rock. And the rest is self-explanatory. Sasuke's eyes remained narrowed at the Kyuubi container. He was pissed that Naruto escaped his Shishi Renden without a scratch. He closed his eyes to calm himself. He then smiled. He still had a few aces up his sleeve, so he shouldn't get too worked up. Sasuke thought to himself, I could use the Mangekyo power. He's fast. My Sharingan doesn't have enough time to effectively counter. Wield the Mangekyo would help as long as I don't use Tsukiyomi, Amaretsu, or Susanoo. With the Mangekyo I would be able to predict his movements better and counter accordingly. The regular Sharingan couldn't keep up with his speed, but these eyes will. Naruto, you should consider yourself lucky. You're the second person who has forced me to use the Mangekyo. He opened his eyes. Naruto wondered what Sasuke had planned. He then realized what happened when Sasuke had opened his eyes to reveal the Mangekyo. Naruto got into a battle stance. His eyes now were directed at Sasuke's feet. Part of Naruto's training with Jiraiya was to prepare him to fight Itachi. He knew how to predict an opponent's movement through their feet. He knew that Sasuke could do what Itachi did to Sasuke so many years ago. Naruto, you're the second person that I have shown these eyes to. You should feel honored. These eyes are more powerful than the regular Sharingan. I hope you're ready to lose, Dobi. Sasuke confidently said. Naruto got into a fighting stance. Naruto took off towards Sasuke. When he prepared to throw a right to Sasuke's face, Naruto found that a foot was placed into his stomach before his punch could connect. Sasuke punched Naruto in the face with his left hand. He stumbled back. Sasuke flipped over Naruto, landing behind him. He then did a roundhouse with his left foot, which connected with Naruto's head. This sent him flying a distance before he hit the ground and skidded a few feet before coming to a stop. Sasuke stood in his fighting stance with an aura of superiority. Naruto got up. His black short-sleeved shirt looked ragged. Smudges of dirt were plastered on his face. Sasuke had smudges of dirt on his face as well. His black long-sleeve Uchiha shirt was tattered but not as bad as Naruto's. The group of watchers were focused on this high Junin level, cage battle. A voice from behind caught everyone's attention. It seems everyone is here. Right, Akamaru, the dog walking besides the boy with gray jacket, black shirt underneath, black shorts that ended 2 inches above his black sandals. Hinata walked up to pet the white dog. So Naruto is fighting Sasuke. Akamaru smelled their presence. I was surprised when I got back from my mission to hear Akamaru tell me that Naruto was here. Kiba spoke to Hinata. She looked at him while petting Akamaru. Yes, Naruto-kun and Uchiha-san are fighting. Hinata turned her head to look at Naruto. Uchiha-san is using the Mangekyo, so I don't know how he plans to win. Hinata commented sadly. Everyone heard noise near the tree Naruto was in a few minutes or so ago. They turned their heads to see Ino and Shikamaru. The two looked like they were fighting. Shikamaru, why are you complaining that I asked you to come with me here? You weren't doing anything but laying in your backyard looking at the sky. Ino stated. Coming here to see Naruto and Sasuke fight doesn't interest me. I'm sure they could have resolved these issues without me being a spectator. Ino just grabbed Shikamaru while she leapt off of the tree onto the ground. They both landed and joined the rest of the ninjas that were watching this battle. Ino looked at Sakura. She wondered what was going through Sakura's mind. Sakura, are you okay? Ino asked. Yes. I'm fine. Sakura answered. Yumi saw Ino standing by Sakura. The last time she saw the girl, she had offered to take her mother to the hot springs to relax. Yumi walked over to Ino, followed by Konohamaru. Excuse me, Ino-san, but do you know where my mother is? Ino took her attention off of Sakura to look at Yumi. Oh, my san asked that I escort to the hotel. She said she was tired. Yumi smiled at the girl. Thank you, Ino-san. Nara Shikamaru walked up next to Tsunade and Jiraiya. So how is Naruto faring? Shikamaru asked. He doesn't seem to be faring too good. Sasuke just activated his Mangekyo and he has the advantage in speed now. He's beating Naruto to a pulp, as you can see. Godime pointed out. Sasuke won't have the advantage for long. Jiraiya stated, never taking his eyes off of his student. Everyone who heard what he said turned to face him. Neji looked at the Toad Hermit. Care to clarify? Jiraiya closed his eyes and smiled. He then opened his eyes to face the Hyuga prodigy. Naruto has yet to reveal his true power. Watch, because this fight is about to get real interesting. Kakashi decided to speak to Jiraiya. Jiraiya-sama, with all due respect, how do figure Naruto isn't going all out? He looks like he's doing everything he can do to keep up with Sasuke, but he's failing horribly. Jiraiya gave Kakashi a look of disgust. You're like Sarutobi-sensei in many aspects. Always put your time and energy into the student you favored among all the others. You don't know and will never know what Naruto is capable of, because everyone believes that it's better to train a genius than someone you would have to actually put effort into training. You ignored him, pushed him to the side so you could focus on Sasuke. Your sensei never did that, Kakashi. He would be disappointed in you. Kakashi put his head down in shame. It was all true. It wasn't that he didn't like Naruto, it's just Kakashi felt that Sasuke would be a better ninja, so he decided to hone his skills instead. Hell, he even helped Sakura work on Genjutsu. The only thing he helped Naruto with was his tree climbing exercise. He taught Sasuke Chidori, his prized technique. Sakura couldn't believe what she heard Jiraiya accuse Kakashi of. Sure, Sasuke did get more attention, but that was because he had the Sharingan and Kakashi was the only one in the village who could train him how to use it. Jiraiya-sama, Kakashi-sensei has been fair to all of us. He showed me Genjutsu. Granted, he helped Sasuke more, but that's because he had to training him how to use the Sharingan better. The pink-haired Kunoichi stated. Jiraiya looked at her with equal disgust. Yet you didn't mention what he taught Naruto. I'm not surprised, seeing as you spent most of your time focusing on Sasuke, so there's no way you would know if he trained Naruto. Sakura, you should watch this battle more than anyone. In a way, this battle has a lot to do with you. Tsunade looked at Jiraiya with a questioned look. How does this battle involve Sakura? Shikamaru decided to answer. It's because Naruto promised to return Sasuke so Sakura wouldn't hurt anymore. From what you told me, he looked at Ino. Sakura stated that she hated Naruto and she called him a dead last who should have left instead of Sasuke. He looked at Sakura. I was there when he promised that he would bring back a guy who turned on us for power, for your sake. If what Jiraiya-sama says about Naruto is correct, then you more than anyone should watch this fight. Tsunade looked Shikamaru. You only answered my question halfway. How does this involve Sakura and why should she watch? The shadow user turned to look at Tsunade with a lazy expression. I was going to answer, but it's too troublesome to explain. Tsunade gritted her teeth. Why, you little. Neji spoke before the Hokage could pound the Nara. It's obvious. Everyone turned to face Neji. Neji continued once he had everyone's attention. I was also there when Naruto made her that promise. The reason this battle has to do with Sakura is because Naruto wants to prove a point to her. And what point is he trying to get across? Ino asked. All of his life he was behind Sasuke. Everyone seems to love Sasuke and hate Naruto. He's been fighting all his life to be accepted, but to no avail. This village has never accepted him. Naruto cared deeply for Sakura. He would have gone to hell and back for her. If I know Naruto, he's going to show Sakura that he is stronger than Sasuke and not the dead last she called him. Neji turned to face Sakura. In a sick way, he's still trying to prove himself to you. Everyone turned around when they heard Naruto crash into the ground. Naruto's shirt had rips in it. Blood was coming from his lip. He picked himself up. Sasuke looked at Naruto. Naruto, give up. You can't win. You can't keep up with me. There is no way you could win. Sasuke said to his blonde opponent with confidence. Naruto wiped the blood from his mouth. He smiled at what Sasuke said. You're right about one thing, I can't win. Not in my current state at least. I wasn't expecting to do this, Sasuke, but you left me no choice. Naruto spread his legs apart until he was crouching down. His arms came together to form an X. His index finger and middle finger were the only fingers extended on both hands. Purple surrounded Naruto's body. All over his body, purple seals that looked like tattoos covered his body. All those who were looking at the fight was curious to what Naruto was doing. Only a select few knew what those seals actually meant. Tsunade's eyes were wide in shock. The same could be said for Kakashi and Guy. There's no way. But how? I thought. Guy tried to form a sentence. Kakashi couldn't even answer. He was speechless. So this is what Jiraiya was talking about. I hope Sasuke has a plan, because the Mangekyo isn't going to be enough. The copy nin thought to himself. Tsunade looked at Jiraiya. Those seals, Jiraiya. Those are gravity seals, right? He nodded his head to confirm the question Tsunade had asked. Ino was confused by the whole ordeal. Excuse me, but what are gravity seals? Guy spoke. It's no surprise, no one has used them in over 20 years. Gravity seals are seals that are placed on the body. A seal master paints them on the person who requests to have them, or if the person is a seal master, he can draw the seals on the visible part of his body. Seeing as Naruto has it all over his back, a seal master did the procedure for him. To answer your question, gravity seals are like weights but much better. Using a hand seal, that's formatted to the seals, a person could increase the gravity of the seals. They affect the whole body, whereas the weights that Lee and I wear only targets certain muscles. Imagine this, if you will. If the gravity was to elevate, it would feel heavier, making it harder to move as fast we normally would. Doing this constantly, you would get used to the gravity until it felt normal to you. Now going back to the gravity before adapting to the gravity of the seal, your strength and speed would increase exponentially. Kakashi got over his shock. The last person who was capable of creating a gravity seal was the fourth. Well, he was the last person in this village anyway. He turned to Jiraiya, who created the seals for Naruto. Tsunade answered. Judging by the design, it was Haoito Naya, White Diamond. Guy's eyes went wide. Really? Kurenai was clueless. She had no idea who they were talking about. Guy, who is this Haoito Naya? Fuza no Okami, the seal mistress. I think that's how you say it, Guy said. Kurenai's eyes went wide. She knew the reputation of the seal mistress. Almost every ninja in her age group and up knew about the seal mistress. Her skills at seals were comparable to Tsunade's skills at medicine. Kurenai looked back at the fight. He didn't even go all out on us. He was playing with us the whole time. This kid has come a long way. Lee looked at Guy with enthusiasm. Guy-sensei, do you think that she can place those seals on me? Sorry, Lee, but I have no idea where she is. She disappeared 20 years ago and no one knows where to. But don't worry, Lee, we will have to increase your weights. He gave the nice guy pose. Lee was on the verge of tears. Guy-sensei. Lee. Guy-sensei. Lee. Tsunade cut the two men, who were embracing one another in hug. Jiraiya, did you take Naruto to see Naya? No. Naruto had the seals done while he was with Saichi Kato. It seems Kato and Naya are good friends. I even asked Naruto where she was, but he told me that part of their deal for giving him the gravity seals was to never reveal her location. All I can tell you is that those gravity seals are different than what we were used to seeing. How so? Tsunade asked. Well, for one, the gravity seals we're used to seeing had to be painted on and had to have a mark where it withdrew from, much like the curse seal. The difference is that this seal doesn't have a mark of origin. Instead, The marks aren't visible. They're only visible because Naruto has deactivated them, and in minute they'll fade to match his complexion. When he activates them again, the purple marks will appear again, but they will fade all the same. You only see the marks when he activates and deactivates the seals. So as Jiraiya had finishing explaining how the seal worked, Naruto's seals disappeared. Jiraiya continued to watch Naruto finish the process of releasing the seals. The process is complete. Naruto, who was glowing purple, positioned himself to stand upright again. The purple glow had receded, as well as the seals. Naruto went through hand seals faster than anyone could see. Doro Numa no Justu, Sasuke jumped in the air when he realized the hand seals Naruto was forming. Sasuke was in the air looking at Naruto. In instant Naruto vanished from his sight. You certainly move fast when you're in danger. Sasuke heard a voice from behind him. He was shocked at the speed Naruto moved at. Not even his Mangekyo, the ultimate Dojutsu, could follow his current speed. Naruto did a roundhouse kick, sending Sasuke to the ground. Sasuke landed only to be kicked in his back. He skid to a stop face first. Sasuke picked himself up off of the ground. Naruto charged at the Uchiha. Sasuke blocked the first punch, but was unsuccessful blocking the next 7. He was lifted in the air by an uppercut, landing on his back. Sasuke got up again. This time his eyes showed how enraged he was. He calmed down, then spoke, "So you're using a seal now to increase your powers? It won't matter, I will still beat you. I am using a seal, but it doesn't give me power. The seals you saw on me were gravity seals. They were activated when we were fighting earlier. I deactivated them because I couldn't keep up with your speed with them on. Just think of them as training weights, but only better," Naruto clarified. Sasuke eyes opened more than usual. "Then you mean to tell me that?" Naruto grinned. "Correct. This here is my true speed and power. No curse seal, no alternative power source, no blood limit, no nothing. It's all me." Sasuke couldn't believe that the Dobi surpassed him. His speed was nothing short of amazing, but he would never admit that to Naruto. Sasuke had one option, but he knew that it would be taxing on his chakra. He hated to admit to himself, but Naruto had outclassed him. Damn, how did this happen? I defeated Itachi and Orochimaru, and now Naruto stands before me stronger than them both. I have to use it. Susanoo will give me the power and the speed to match him. Sasuke smiled a genuine smile at Naruto. Why should I be mad? He did this fair and square. I hate to say it, Dobi, but you've earned it. Let's see if he'll go for this. Put it on, Naruto, Sasuke said with no malice or hate. Put what on? I have no idea what you're talking about. Naruto knew what Sasuke was talking about, but why did he ask him to do this? Naruto put on the headband. We did fight as equals back then. We shall do so again now, so please put the headband on. I know you have it, Sasuke stated. It was true. Naruto had the headband in his kunai pouch. Naruto smiled at Sasuke. I guess it's appropriate that I wear a headband illustrating that I no longer hold ideals of the leaf. I don't know why you're asking me to do this. He proceeds to wrap Sasuke's headband around his head. Because you're strong. Sasuke gave Naruto a serious look, and you once said that the headband represents we fight on equal ground. I know you were conscious when you knocked me out last time. Why didn't you kill me? Naruto asked. Killing my best friend is something I could never do. I'm not my brother. I would never kill you for power. Sasuke answered truthfully. Naruto became enraged. Best friend? What best friend you know shoves a Chidori through his best friend's chest, huh? All of the spectators couldn't believe what they just heard, especially Kakashi and Sakura. Kakashi couldn't believe because he taught Sasuke the move to protect his friends, and Sakura couldn't believe that Sasuke would do that to Naruto. But she couldn't be mad, since what she did was no better. It may not have been physically painful, but it was all the same to Naruto. Naruto calmed himself, and then continued, you know, Kakashi did teach something that I am grateful to have learned. He taught me what a friend is, even if he never was really a friend to me. He once said to us, in the ninja world, those who break the rules are scum, that's true. But those abandon their friends are worse than scum. Sasuke, you are scum, along with Kakashi and Sakura. I thought of you all as friends, but I doubt the feeling was mutual. You have no idea what it is to be a friend, Sasuke. I really hope that things were different between us, but as they stand there is nothing left for us but to fight. Taking a fighting stand, he smiled at Sasuke, don't hold back. Sasuke was still smiling, I don't intend to. Sasuke's Mangekyo started to glow red. A strange aura, the color of the ocean, surrounded his body. Naruto smiled as he felt the aura coming off of Sasuke. Sasuke was smiling too, he was finally able to go all out. He hadn't done so since his bout with Itachi. Jiraiya looked at Tsunade, he shoved a Chidori through Naruto's chest. I'm guessing you didn't know until now. The fox must have healed him before he came back to the village. His words echoed so only her ears could hear. Yes, it seems so. Tsunade's eyes were glued on the two fighters on the battlefield while answering. Yumi hadn't noticed Jiraiya there. She walked up to him, hello Ero Sennin, how have you been? Jiraiya was cursing Naruto for rubbing off on her in his head. I'm fine. So Yumi, Tsunade told me that your mother was here. Where is she now? She's at the hotel. Ero Sennin, stay away from my mother. I know what you have in mind. She glared at the pervert. Putting his hands in his defense. No, it's nothing like that, it's just that we had good time talking last time I seen her, that's all. Jiraiya thought to himself, plus she gave some good ideas for my last book. I got to pick her brain for more ideas, that book was my bestseller. With a look of worry, Yumi looked at Jiraiya. Jiraiya, that guy is glowing, do you think that Naruto will be okay? Naruto Nisan is going to be fine. You see his speed, it's on a whole new level. He's going to be fine, Yumi Nichan. Konohamaru assured the worried girl. Sasuke could feel the power coursing through his veins. The power he felt was unreal. Sasuke looked at both of his hand, both had the ocean color aura around it. The Uchiha looked back at Naruto, and then in a split second he vanished. He appeared directly behind Naruto, he aimed a kick with right leg for the right side of Naruto's head. The kick never connected. Naruto blocked with his right arm. He then pivoted 180 degrees to plant his left fist in Sasuke's gut, this was blocked. Naruto threw right to Sasuke's face, he barely blocked it. The kick that followed wasn't blocked, he took the hit in his face. This sent him up in the air, but he backflipped to land. Naruto vanished from everyone's sight, except Sasuke and a few others. He knew Naruto was about 10 yards to the left him. He caught him performing seals, and then he stopped. Sasuke knew by the seals Naruto had formed he was going to fire water bullets at him. Sweden. Kiritama no Jutsu, were the words that Naruto whispered to himself when water, in the form of bullets, shot out of his mouth. All of the projectiles were aiming for Sasuke. Sasuke jumped in the air to avoid the bullets of water, that impacted the area ground where he once stood. The only Uchiha clan member went through hand seals of his own. Kaden. Hosenka no Jutsu, the fireballs were on their way to Naruto. Before they made contact, Mizu no Tate, after shouted out his technique, his body was encapsulated with water. The fireballs died out as soon as they hit Naruto's water. Sasuke landed back on the ground, the blue aura was still surrounding his body. When Naruto dropped his shield, the Uchiha was preparing another technique, Raiko Dageki. Naruto found himself dodging lightning coming from the sky, that was aimed at him. Damn these lightning strikes, if my gravity seals were still activated I'd be done for. Naruto kept dodging until the technique died down. He was panting, due to the speed at which he had to dodge. You seem tired, don't tell me that's all you have. The Uchiha stated, taunting his opponent. Nope, not at all, Naruto moved too fast for almost everyone to see. He appeared in front of Sasuke. He threw a punch, which the Mangekyu wielder blocked. Both ninjas exchanged blows that were cancelled out by the other. This continued for 2 more minutes until Naruto started to notice something. Is it just me, or is Sasuke slowing down? As realization dawned on Naruto, he realized what was happening. This technique he's using to enhance his speed and power uses up a whole lot of chakra. That's why every blow that I countered was aimed at areas to knock me out. He's trying to finish it. He knows that my speed and power is my own, so when his technique dies out he won't be able to keep up. Sorry Sasuke, but I figured out how this technique operates. You won't be winning today. Naruto tilted his head to the left to avoid a punch. He then countered with left to the gut, a right to the face, and a roundhouse with his right that sent Sasuke to the ground. Sasuke wiped off the blood that was coming from his mouth. He then stood up again. Naruto was watching Sasuke closely. He wondered if Sasuke realized yet that this battle was over. He knew Sasuke would never admit it, but deep down he believed that he had to know. Sasuke, this fight is over. You can't beat me. Naruto said this without showing any emotions. That technique can only be used when you activate the Mangekyu, correct? He asked the question more so to himself than to Sasuke. Naruto continued to give his analysis. I see that it eats away at your chakra, which means that the technique was designed to be used to end a fight quickly. The technique was ineffective against me because my speed and power matches the power boost that you got from that technique. But unlike your technique, which seems to be fizzling out as we speak, my natural attributes won't fade. The blue aura covering Sasuke began to fade until it was completely gone. The Mangekyu Sharingan disappeared, revealing his onyx eyes. Sasuke knew that if he didn't think of something fast then this fight was over. What should I do? If I use Amaretsu then I will drain a significant portion of my chakra. If I use the curse seal in conjunction with the Mangekyu then, no. He's still not using that power that he used in our last fight. If I use that now and exhaust myself, then he could call forth that red chakra and win this fight. A though came to him, I got it I'll use. His train of thought was cut off by a kick to the face. Naruto continued the assault on his former teammate. Sasuke was defenseless to stop him. Naruto was moving so fast that he couldn't manage time to block. Naruto was picking the Uchiha apart. The most people in the crowd couldn't believe what they were seeing. Sasuke, who was in line to be the next Rokudime, was getting beat senseless. Hell yeah, go Naruto. Kick that pompous Uchiha's. Kiba shouted, pumping his fist. Rubbing his ears, Shikamaru tried to recover from Kiba's loud cheers. Kiba, could you be any louder? Naruto is winning, it's pointless yelling. Come on Shikamaru, you can't tell me you're not enjoying this. Kiba said this while having his hand around the shadow user. Shikamaru broke free of the embrace. He then shrugged, I'm only here because Ino felt 2 immense chakras. I was actually watching the sun set, but the sun is a setting and it looks like I won't be doing what I intend to do. Why didn't you just tell her you didn't feel like coming? Neji asked. It would have been so goddamn troublesome to argue with Ino. She would have kept nagging until I said yes. So to avoid her arguing I decided to come. She's more troublesome than my mom. Ino had overheard what Shikamaru had said. She was not happy to say the least. She balled her fist and planted it into Shikamaru's head. He was now face first in the dirt. Shikamaru, how dare you call me a nag? If you weren't such a lazy person no one would have to force you to do things. Another thing, how dare you? Shikamaru rolled on his back to look at the setting sun. Note to self, keep your mouth shut, it's less troublesome in the long run. Naruto was attacking Sasuke with a barrage of kicks and punches. Naruto flipped over Sasuke. When he landed, he quickly did a back flip kick. Sasuke went in 2 feet off of the ground before landing on his back. Naruto resumed his fighting stance. Sasuke got back up off of the ground. His eyes were fixed on Naruto's. Keep him focused on my eyes. That's it Naruto, and now, Sasuke activated his Sharingan, so after it went into its Mangekyu form. Naruto had no time to react, he found himself in one Sasuke's ultimate techniques. Naruto looked around. The sky was red, every object he could see was black. He looked at his hands to see it was black as well. Where the hell am I? You're in the world of Tsukiyomi. This is the ultimate genjutsu, there is no escape. I control everything here. Sasuke's voice echoed through world of Tsukiyomi. Naruto was looking around. Suddenly, he saw Iruka in front of him dead. Naruto let a tear fall from his eye. He then heard a familiar voice scream. He ran in the direction of the voice. He saw Yumi tied to a pole. When he tried to run to free her, he was frozen in place. He found himself tied to a cross. All he could do was watch as Sasuke appeared in front of him. I control everything in here, Naruto. Sasuke then turned to Yumi, and I control her life as well. Sasuke walked up to Yumi and placed the sword that he held at her throat. Please, don't. Naruto pleaded. Sasuke gave an evil grin before he slit her throat. Sasuke appeared in front of Naruto. He pointed the spot where he just slit Yumi's throat. Her dead form faded, and then she reappeared again. You will watch me kill her over and over for the next 72 hours. Also, 100 of Sasuke's appeared in front of Naruto. I will be impaling you with shurikens. All the Sasukes threw the shurikens, all hit Naruto, who screamed as they made contact. It's only an illusion, but this pain is real. Damn, how can I break this jutsu? Naruto, who was bleeding all over, smirked at Sasuke. Fox, free me from this damn illusion. Naruto hated asking the fox for favors, but the fox wasn't that bad. Well, he started getting better when Naruto became strong. He stopped calling him a weak container. So you finally want my help? You haven't asked for my help in 6 years. Ironically, it was to fight this idiot. Just break this jutsu. If I had experienced this technique before, I would have tried to develop a counter for it. Besides, I know you want to see me kick his. Naruto said to the fox. This is pretty good technique, for a human. It is very hard, near impossible for humans to counter. I will break this technique because I refuse for people to see my container as weak. The fox stated. Ah, it kinda sounds like you're worried about me. I didn't know that the king of all yokai could care for a lowly human. Naruto said sarcastically. The Kyuubi growled, damn you Yondaime. I wish I was free from this prison. If I were free, I doubt you would talk to me in such a manner. If I was free, I would feast on your corpse, I would. God damn it. Just break the technique. I'm tired of hearing you would eat me if you were free. Say something new, you damn fox. Muhahaha. You got guts, kid. I'll give you that. Okay, let me break this pathetic technique of this bastard. Sasuke, wondering why Naruto was smirking at him, didn't he know that there was no escape from this technique? Sasuke was about to say something when Yumi disappeared. All of copies of himself disappeared as well. Sasuke looked at Naruto. What's going on? Smirking. I'm breaking this jutsu, that's what's going on. Sasuke tried to control this world to no avail. Sasuke started to feel hot. The world around him started to burn, flames were everywhere. He couldn't move, he was trapped in the fire. He felt the flames burn his skin. Naruto vanished from his post and all Sasuke remembered was screaming. Naruto dropped to one knee, gasping for air. Sasuke clutched his head, and then dropped to his knees the floor. Panting, he looked at Naruto with shock in his eyes. What the hell are you? Still panting, he smiled. The one who's going to kick your. I must admit that was the best genjutsu ever. But I have aces up my sleeve as well. Both warriors, who were about 10 yards away from one another, stood on their feet. Naruto was feeling the mental effects of Tsukiyomi and Sasuke was feeling pain all over. Sasuke activated his Mangekyo Sharingan again. It had faded as soon as his technique was broken. Kurenai, who specialized in genjutsu, knew that it was impossible to counter that technique. Tsukiyomi was the ultimate genjutsu. How in the hell did he counter that technique? By all accounts, he should not be fighting, he should be in a coma. I wouldn't have believed it if I didn't see it. was all Kakashi could say. Asuma cigarette was already on the ground. He was watching the fight without saying a word to anyone because he was speechless. Now speechless was an understatement. Enko couldn't grasp how he did it. Neji was curious as well. But he didn't expect anything less from Naruto. If one thing is for sure, it's that Naruto is full of surprises. Hanabi was watching in utter shock. She couldn't believe that someone was not only standing toe-to-toe with Sasuke, but the said person was winning. Talk about shock to the system. She looked at Konohamaru and frowned. He was going to prove her wrong for once. She hated being proven wrong. The Uchiha did the hand seals necessary. His right hand was now clutching his left wrist. Electricity was visible in his left hand that was palm side down. A ring of chakra was on the ground. He stood in the middle. Naruto wasted no time forming his Rasengan. This Rasengan was different from his usual Rasengan. The inside became more a royal blue, while the outside was the color of his chakra. This time he would put as much power as possible. One thing that both ninjas knew was certain was that this attack would decide the battle. Guy looked at Kakashi. It seems that he's going to use Reikiri. Looks like he's going to go all out. Who do you think will win? I don't know. Both techniques are powerful. We'll see in few minutes, I'm sure. Naruto and Sasuke held their gazes on one another. Naruto, it seems we're back to where finished our last battle. Let's see if your Rasengan can stand up to my Reikiri, the Uchiha stated. This ends now, Sasuke. It's time we settle the score, he said in a serious manner. Both warriors took off. They were running toward the end of the battle. Sasuke and Naruto were closing the distance that separated them. When they finally got within reaching distance, they readied their techniques to make contact. Naruto and Sasuke looked in each other's eyes. Odama Rasengan. Reikiri. Both techniques collided. Everything went white. The whiteness enveloped the landscape, taking the vision of all who were looking at the fight. When the light died down, there was a crater where both fighters had collided. Instincts took over. Sakura and Yumi both ran to the crater. Everyone followed suit. Yumi and Sakura arrived at the crater at the same time, their eyes widened at the sight before them. Everyone reached the crater as well. The same expression came across their face when they looked inside of the crater. Inside the crater, Naruto stood over an unconscious Sasuke. His eyes were focused on the Sharingan wielder. Naruto then untied the headband around his head. He placed the headband on Sasuke's chest, then picked him up bridal style. He walked towards the crowd. When he got near Sakura and Kakashi, he laid Sasuke down. Don't worry, Kakashi. I didn't kill your prized student, I just knocked him out. He should wake in an hour or so, he said, void of emotions. He cringed when he didn't add the sensei. With the exception of Jiraiya, they looked at him in shock, but he ignored it. He walked past everyone and went straight to Yumi, who was next to Konohamaru. I think we should get some rest. Let's head back to the hotel. Yumi looked at him. He had cuts and scrapes all over his body. Sakura walked up to Naruto and smiled. Naruto, you're injured, let me heal you. Sakura went to place her hands above his arm to heal the cut, but he slapped it away. He turned away, walked off. Sakura looked as his back moved away from her. Naruto, please let me heal you. He stopped and turned around. He looked at Ino. If memory serves me right, Ino, didn't Haruno tell me never to speak to her again? He finally turned his gaze to Sakura. The only reason you want to help me now is because you feel guilty. I don't need your help. As far as I'm concerned, you're dead to me. Sakura felt as if a knife went into her heart. His words stung her. Tears were swelling up in her eyes. Naruto gave a smirk. Did my words hurt you? I'm glad now you understand how I felt. Sakura, you're pathetic. Tears slid down her cheek. Naruto, we were friends, why would you say such a hurtful thing? He spoke once more. Sakura, let's get one thing straight, you and I were never friends. I only had a few people that I could call friends in this village. You treated me badly whenever I tried to be friends with you. Whenever Sasuke and I argued, you would take his side. I did everything I could to prove that I was worthy of your friendship. I even protected you and this village from Gaara. Still everyone hated me. If it wasn't for me, he pointed at Tsunade, she wouldn't be Hokage of this village. Hell, if wasn't for me, he pointed at Kakashi, Zabuza would have killed him. He paused for a second. Sakura, don't ever speak to me again. Maybe I should have let Gaara kill you, since you're so pathetic. Quote. Kakashi came to her defense. Naruto, that's enough. You've gone too far. Naruto glared at the man with the mask. It's just like Hatake to protect his two precious students. I don't see how this involves you, so stay out of this scum. Kakashi gritted his teeth under his mask. Naruto smiled knowing he got a rise out him. What, did I say something that pissed of the great Hatake off? It must have been when I called you scum. Don't get mad, I call it like I see it. How do you figure that I'm scum, Naruto? He asked in a normal calm facade. You consider people who abandoning their friends and comrades are scum, right? I guess it goes without saying. He calmly replied. Naruto spoke once more. You abandoned me to train Sasuke during the Chunin exams, when I asked for your help. You taught him and Sakura, but whenever I asked for your help you would say that my chakra control was horrible. Not once did you recommend something that would help gain better chakra control. How does it feel to have your best student beaten by the one you considered to be your worst? He looked at the Anbu members and the Chunin and Junin fangirls. This is the guy you worship. Is this your Rokudaime? He couldn't even beat me and you expect him to protect the village. The Anbu members and the fangirl Kunoichis were fuming. He then turned his gaze to Tsunade. Your successor sucks. So, do you believe I'm worth the $90 million Ryu since I beat the soon-to-be Rokudaime? Naruto looked at all the female Kunoichis swooning over Sasuke. He knew no matter what he did Sasuke would always have their respect. He proved that he had the strength to be Hokage, but he would never have the title. He knew that this village would never accept him no matter what. Sometimes he wondered why he didn't start his own village. He stored that thought. He might do that. Hey Hatake, when he wakes up ask him how does feel to lose to the dead last. Also, how does it feel to know that you can't beat me? Naruto was taunting Kakashi. Naruto, stop acting like an and stop being mean. Yumi said slightly mad at him. For the first time, Naruto looked at Yumi with hate in his eyes. You only know them for a minute and you take up for them. They treat me like crap and it's okay, but I speak how I feel and I'm in. No Yumi, you're in for taking up for these people who probably want you dead just for being associated with me. Naruto turned around and stormed off leaving Yumi shocked. Where are you going, Naruto? The concerned girlfriend asked. What does it matter? The words escaped his mouth in a sad tone. She turned to Jiraiya. Why is he acting like this? I never once saw him belittle someone. He always encouraged others to do their best. The Toad Hermit decided to answer. Many people in this village hate Naruto. I'm sure you know why, but we won't talk about that here. This village has done nothing to help him or make him believe in himself. True, he could have decided not to taunt everyone here, but to understand why he acts this way to most of the people here you will have to ask Naruto, Yumi. It's simple. When a person gives all they have to others and gets nothing in return, it's only natural they become cold and bitter to those they have given their all to. Everyone turned around to hear the unknown stranger speak. With his mini afro, black jacket, black pants, and black sandals, Shino had gained the attention of everyone. Tsunade looked at Sasuke. Kakashi, take Sasuke home, and everyone else go about your business. Everyone started to walk off. Konohamaru walked up to Yumi. Let me walk you back to the hotel, Yumi Nichan. Don't worry, Naruto Nisan is going to be okay. Yumi looked up and smiled. I'm sure he will. I'm sure he will. Yumi and Konohamaru walked into the direction of the hotel. Shikamaru still was lying on the ground. The moon looks nice from here. Maybe I should get home. He thought it over for a second. On second thought, I think I'll wait here for a while. I already dealt with one troublesome woman today. I don't need to hear my mom bitch about me being lazy. I don't know how my dad does it. Being whipped is so troublesome. The lazy Junin continued to look at the moon and the stars in the sky.